across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, it's 3 and a bit minutes past 10. This is a late show on Talk TV, Talk Radio, whatever this channel is called this week. And the polls have closed with these elections right across the United Kingdom. So what was up for election today? In Scotland, elections to Scottish Parliament. In Wales, elections to Welsh Synod, which used to be the Welsh Assembly, now the Welsh Parliament. And in England, many local authorities, but not all of them. In my area, they weren't voting. But I'll tell you where they were voting. They were voting in Pete's area, originally, which is Wigan. And obviously, we're not going to get any results in Wigan until about 2:30. We're trying to find somebody at the count, by the way, which we may or may not successfully do. But just explain to me the importance of winning seats in the Red Wall for Nigel Farage tonight.
I use Wigan as a perfect example because this is straight old-school Labour. You know, it's dyed in the wool. Everyone always says you put a pig in a sash and, you know, a Labour sash, it will win. This is Reform taking on those seats. It's whether Nigel has got the clout to actually kick out the Labour councillors and hopefully maybe Labour MPs in those areas because they've got to win them.
So just to be clear, Andy Burnham held Lee with a majority of 24,000.
Yep.
The guy in Makefield's a bit nondescript and Lisa Nandy holds Wigan. Now, just to be clear, like a lot of areas, it will vote in thirds. That is to say, it votes a third, and then has a fallow year. So
what does that mean? Every 3?
Yeah, so that means that each seat has 3 councillors, and they just elect 1 each year.
I see.
Now, what that means is that right across the country, councils will not change hands. Certainly in the case of Wigan, where virtually everybody is a Labour councillor at the moment. But what they'll be looking for is, have they gained momentum in seats like that? Now, obviously, there are big questions about what the Greens will do in London as well. We can get on to that.
That's a huge
but I really think this is the night where we ask ourselves about Zach Polanski and we ask ourselves about Nigel Farage.
Yes, without a doubt. You mentioned the big M word, the big Mo, and that's what this word, that's what tonight is. Has Reform been able to convert protest anger into governing authority?
Yeah, because it plateaued, hasn't it? And likely, so this is sort of a pivot point. Is it going to go up or is it going to drop?
Exactly. And also, what's interesting, this for the Labour Party, this is a kind of, where was the 2024 general election just we wanted anybody but the Tories?
Yeah, it clearly was.
Yeah, because this is the thing. The last time these seats were up for election was Partygate year. So this was the year that the Tories got clobbered and Labour took a really kind of took the advantage of the coup. So so they're due to lose thousands of seats. My prediction for Reform is about 1,500 seats win.
Okay.
I think and that's on the nice side. I think.
Will Starmer go then?
And what is it? About 3,000 seats up for grabs?
Yeah,
like
I think it's more than that. I think it's 5,000.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's about 5. I think if you include the Senate and Scotland, but yeah, it's one of the most important days I think in British politics that I think we've had for a long time because it's not really about the kind of scorecard. It's about the vote share. It's about the turnout. It's about
what do we know anything about the turnout yet?
Yes, so nothing I've got so far, but
let's not be unfair, Pete. In reality, let's do the Janet and John version because, as I always say, people are busy.
For simpletons.
What's happened now is that the ballot boxes in your local sports hall or primary school or whatever have been sealed. They're now being taken back to where the count will take place centrally. That's going to take them, depending on the size of the area, anywhere up to 3 days.
Oh,
no, I'm
easily.
joking.
I know.
I'm joking.
Oh, yeah.
But obviously, in the case of say somewhere like,
is it Sunderland? Don't they? They have a race.
Yeah. So obviously, what will happen is if you are voting in say Atherton, your ballot box may have to get all the way to Robin Park to do the vote. Yeah. Whatever, and that could take some. That's a really
but it's a perfect example. But what's really important is I expect a lot of these wards to be very close.
Yeah.
So I actually think this might take a very long time to get.
So in answer to Asher's question, what is the turnout? What's going to happen is they're going to have to do the verification, which is where they get the list of names on the page and say we think 1,500 people voted in this ward. Have we got 1,500 ballot papers? Yes, we have. And that's when that's when you get the turnout. But that turnout will be expressed for each local council area.
Yeah.
Are we going to see family voting?
Well, there's already been accusations. There's already been accusations of it happening. I think there's been accusations of intimidation outside of polling stations, which we all expected because it's not a new problem. But if we look at what happened.
Well, it is relatively new, isn't it?
Well,
it's not from here, is it?
Yeah, that's true. But our elections are never perfect. No. But it is very concerning that even
I think
Denton and Gordon.
In fairness, family voting is something that it's not actually just a Pakistani or Bangladeshi issue. It actually is wherever there is a closed ethnic community. So, as an example, in Hackney, there was a large investigation into ultra-Orthodox Jews who kind of were doing all this family voting and whatever. I think the actual answer to it, and certainly in the case of Hackney, you just have to tell people you're not allowed to do it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That's hard.
Well,
that's hard.
It is illegal. You know what I mean? Arrest some people for it instead of going, oh, we better let it go.
And the thing you have to take from the Gordon and Denton was the fact that the independent observers felt that kind of disturbed by it. They said it on the night.
Yes.
That's the bit that you take away from it. And they still got ignored. And I think that is shocking, but it's Greater Manchester Police, so there you are.
Paul Kingsley says, hi, Andre, Ash and Pete. Can you confirm I've just heard that Paul Gascoigne has turned up at number 10 with fried chicken and a fishing rod? He's going to talk Keir Starmer down.
Oh, is that thing guy going to turn up with a P45 like he did to Theresa May?
Yeah, what's his name? Yeah.
What was his name?
Simon Bodkin.
Simon Bodkin.
So I'll tell you what's interesting potentially in Scotland. You have Labour, you have the SNP going into this on 39%, but you had Reform and the Labour Party tying on 18%.
That is actually amazing.
If Reform comes second in Scotland, I mean, Anna Sarwar, just to remind everyone, Anna Sarwar, of course, said that Keir Starmer should go because he was worried that he'd lose. Yeah. Anna Sarwar will go into absolute meltdown.
Well, yeah, I think he will melt as a person, if I'm being really honest. But, isn't it funny that the guy who actually had the the guts to actually come out and say that he should go, and he was the first one to do it, is probably going to, suffer a very humiliating defeat. I find it quite funny that the Baroness woman who runs Welsh Labour, she only came out against Keir Starmer yesterday. And I mean, come on, I think it's just a waste of time. But
it amazes me because we might come out of this, Pete, with Reform as the official opposition in Scotland and the official opposition in Wales. It's not so much that it's interesting, but we always think of Reform, rightly or wrongly, as an English party.
That's
led by the ultimate. I mean, let's be honest. If you were to think about two of the most English people ever. No, actually, three of the most English people ever. Tice, Farage, and Lee Anderson. All different types of Englishmen, but all very much Englishmen.
Oh, very true. Yeah, but also the thing is, it would mean Labour is just an England party.
Wow, that's a good point.
If they lose Wales as well, which they are likely, which most of us think that they will, because the kind of the Plaid's and the Greens are very powerful. The Plaid Cymru, the nationalist party there, are really taking advantage. They've had a very smart campaign.
They say that Welsh Labour have never lost an election since 1922. I'm sure they lost one to the Conservatives, a European one.
Oh yeah, because he defected, didn't he? It was the first UKIP, one of the UKIP defected. Was it Reckless?
I'm certain that there was an election in the 2010s, a European parliamentary election. Anyway, let's be clear. Welsh Labour have always held the premiership in Wales.
Yes,
the first ministership.
But the thing is that Welsh Labour is its very own thing. If they're not really that connected in terms of taking on the hits of Westminster traditionally, so basically they might be part of the Labour family, but they have their own brand identity. They have their own kind of people. It's their own thing. I mean, obviously because they've held Wales for so long, they've got their own ecosystem, and they've been able to resist a lot of the kind of sleaze and the scandals of Westminster, and they've still been able to survive. This is the first time, I think, realistically, Welsh Labour have actually been affected by the problems of Westminster.
That raises the obvious question. is it that Keir Starmer is dragging Welsh Labour down, or is it they just awful anyway? Because I know this 20-mile-an-hour thing really did them a lot of damage.
Yeah, it did. It was. I think more people actually signed
What is
that
it? The
petition.
national speed limit now in Wales is 20 miles
and
an hour.
then they wanted to reverse it. I don't know whether they actually did in the end, but I remember reading that more people signed that petition than voted in the actual Senate elections.
Yeah.
That's how people were that infuriated.
Well, they've lost their tourism because people are just going, I'm not going to bother turning up.
Yeah.
If I'll just get
Think about it. They'd lost most of their kind of industrial backbone. Then they lost the tourism, and then they just got clobbered because the First Minister, I can't remember his name now, just went mental over COVID.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Rodri Morgan.
That's it.
Rodri Morgan, who was calling for stronger lockdowns, yet he was doing his Diwali dance, wasn't he?
Yeah.
They were all hypocrites.
All of them were. All of them were. And the damage they've done to this country should never be forgotten. I mean, they've saddled us with so much debt, but also just done over many generations.
Also remarkable. I see that the BBC later on have got Sir John Curtis.
Yes.
He now looks like that guy of Last Crusade, Indiana Jones.
When he melted his
after he drank the wrong cup.
Yeah, he chose
How
poorly.
is he still alive, John
I
Curtis?
don't know, but yeah, because
He looks like Tutankhamun.
I don't think he's that old either.
Really?
If I remember rightly, I actually don't think he's as old as you think he is.
Because that Nazi, when he drinks the wrong Holy Grail and his face goes all... That's what Curtis looks like.
No, it's when he goes, he chose poorly. Bad dates. But no, I remember...
Bad dates.
But I love that film. But I remember, actually, I was on with Sir John Curtis here, actually, and he said to me, I had a great insight not many people had, and I'm living off that quote for the rest of my career.
That's good. That's good.
But no, honestly, it's going to be fascinating. I think tonight. Obviously, I think realistically, we'll only get the final results probably Friday afternoon, if not Friday evening.
Yeah.
Realistically, but
they'll get some exit polls out.
We'll get a lot of exit polls, but I would be very careful about how much we kind of put weight onto them. Obviously.
Yeah, and what we're going to do is, whilst we're going to refer to the election throughout the night, it's important to bear in mind that this broadcast ends at 1 a.m.
Yes.
And therefore, there's not going to be the huge amount of results potentially that people might hope for. I think Wigan's expected at 2:30.
Yeah, I've got to say, because I think it's 44 seats, I think, are up in Wigan, if I remember rightly. So it's going to be it's a long night for a lot of councils. Like I said, I think a lot of this is going to be very close. So I actually expect we might even get a couple of coin flips with some of the wards, with how close these things.
Because they tell us about that and they actually do that, don't they?
Yeah, so basically, if they kind of basically they don't agree on who has won, they do it the old-fashioned way. They flip a coin. It is absolutely
Best
hilarious.
out of 3 or just one?
I actually think it's
one.
I think it's just one. Yeah, because you
Why don't they do paper, scissors, stone? And,
I mean, let's not be silly. Most councillors can't do that.
Anyway, look, we're with Pete Barnes. We're talking about the local elections. What we're going to be talking to Kieran Miller after the break here, aren't we? Yeah, so 0344 499 1000. He's the director
By the way, just to be clear, Asher Gould is a consummate professional. He no pretends not to be. That picture had nothing to do with voting. But I do want to say, before we go to break, I want to thank the gentleman who saw me in Slough Tesco's earlier, who wanted me to say that Asher Gould was an effing C Jew. As far as I'm concerned.
Is that good? Isn't it?
Well, I don't care if you dislike us. I've got no...
effing
no effing C... Jew.
Does he lock? Some of them are all right Jews, but I was just or does he? Think
I think it's fair to say he said that
it's all of them. So it wasn't personal.
When he decided, so initially, I thought he was just being funny. I didn't hear the Jew bit, and then when he had a bit more,
you knew that, didn't you? Say, well, I know that anyway.
It was
Tell me something I don't know.
I was surprised with my first proxy anti-Semitic insult.
Didn't you citizens arrest him and wrestle him to the ground?
I can honestly assure you, if it was the Thames Valley Police, they'd have knighted him. I'm not joking. They would have. They'd have given him an award for bravery. Well done, you racist thug.
Yeah, it's called the Jeremy Corbyn Award.
Yeah, that's right. Hello, Matt Barber. Yeah.
Anyway, well, I won't go to Tesco's in Slough then. 0344 499 1000. It's me and Andre. We're having a look at the local elections, and we've got Pete Barnes with us to analyse the data. Back after this.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk. By the way, to our friends in Wales, I want to apologise. Everyone has got in touch saying, I'm sorry that the Welsh Assembly is so boring that you didn't realise Rodri Morgan's been dead for about 20 years.
I have done about 6 interviews today already. My brain is fried.
It's Mark Drakeford. Rodri Morgan. He's been dead for years.
The thing is with the Welsh Parliament, it's actually a very powerful institution.
It is.
And it's actually one of the most complex places I think I've ever had to have any business with. But it's also the most woke place I've ever been. They've still got these kind of gender-neutral toilets. Does it have tampons in the gents? It does, and that's where the story actually comes from. The original story was from the Welsh Parliament.
Well, men do use them sometimes.
Well,
only Liberace.
You can keep that one to yourself.
only Liberace. And it wasn't because he was menstruating.
No.
Okay. Well, that has put a horrible thought in everybody's mind.
Yes,
but I have to say to you, my favourite thing.
I like Liberace.
My favourite thing about the Welsh Assembly was when they said what they do is they designed it because they wanted it to be like trees. You know, because elders sit under the trees and used to decide and deliberate. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. So literally, they've made up a bit of Welsh history. The only one good thing I will say about the Welsh Assembly or the Synod is at least they haven't spent a load of money on it. That obscenity in Holyrood.
Oh, I mean, I love how they tried to make it less confrontational by the way they designed it and everything. I mean,
it's a bunch of Scottish people debating.
Yes, you got the SNP in there. Yes, civil is the word that you would use and less hostile.
Yeah, that's right. Which, if you want to make it less hostile, move it to Bridlington.
Don't build it. That would have been the start.
That's right. Okay. Whoa. Well, I want to tell you about a very, very, very worrying story where a UK pastor has been found guilty of influencing people's decisions about abortions. Let's go straight to the director of the Christian Institute. Hello. Tell me all about this.
Hi, thanks, gents. Well, this was a pastor of long standing, 78 years old, granddad, and he was in one of these zones preaching the gospel. One of the most famous Bible verses people know, people will be familiar with it, John 3:16, for God so loved the world. He wasn't there to talk about abortion. He didn't say anything about abortion, didn't have any placards about abortion, didn't hint at abortion. Abortion wasn't hidden around the corner somewhere. Abortion didn't feature. But he's been prosecuted and found guilty of, as you say, influencing somebody within one of these zones, despite not mentioning an abortion.
Is he going to appeal it? And also, doesn't he have a European doesn't he have human rights to have his own freedom of religion?
No, we don't have human rights. No. Only they do.
They pick where it.
Sorry, go on, Kieran.
Well, no, you hit the nail on the head. Yeah, I mean, so. We could talk about abortion zones. We could talk about the rights and wrongs of how they were set up and all that sort of stuff. But that's not really relevant to this. This was a guy who went there with a few other people to preach the gospel. It's not a thing that we're probably too familiar with in Britain, but in Northern Ireland, it's a common thing.
Did he know he was doing it in the zone? Was he doing it to make a point?
Well, he was not. Well, insofar as he was doing it to say the law doesn't apply to preaching the gospel. So we understand what the law says about harassing women and intimidating women, and understood all of that. But he said, well, the law doesn't apply to this. I'm not talking about that. I'm just here to preach.
Kieran, can I ask you this question? So first of all, I'm always very, very careful about abortion clinics simply because my co-host when I did the show on Saturday night, Danielle Nichols, she had a miscarriage and had to go to an abortion clinic to take her dead unborn child out. So I'm always very careful. We don't know what those women are doing. But what she said was she agreed that it would be lovely for people to support women who are going for an abortion. Clearly she wasn't doing that. But this whole thing in America with the megaphones, we don't do that in Britain, do we? What annoys me is I don't understand why it's not the rule in this country, why we can't bring you guys inside the clinics so we can say, well, you know, here's a medical option, but here's a Christian option. Here's perhaps a civic or a civil option to have the child put up for adoption or whatever. Why are we not working together in that way? I guess my question is, why does this government love killing unborn babies?
Well, that's a really massive question, and this is a cultural thing, isn't it? And it started in the 60s. You know, it's 10 million babies have been killed since the Abortion Act was passed in the 60s. You know, it's around about 300,000 every year. Wherever you sit on the issue of abortion, I appreciate it perhaps more than anybody that it's a really sensitive issue. We've got to be kind of careful about this and how we talk about it and everything. But 300,000, so we should be saying, are there no bounds to this? But I've got to say, just to stress, just for anybody, because people like to jump on this, and he was there to harass women. Well, he wasn't. Because he wasn't talking about abortion. If I didn't make it clear already, he wasn't talking about abortion. He didn't have any signs about abortion. He wasn't hinting at abortion. He was there to preach the gospel. That's what he does. He's a gospel preacher. I mean, he's against abortion as well, but he was there to preach the gospel. And it's a really worrying thing. I think this is the really important thing. People have got to get their heads around this, right? So he was there preaching the gospel. So he wasn't mentioning abortion. He was found to have broken the law. You can have churches in these buffer zones. If they have the same verse up on the side of the wall, is that gonna be criminalised?
Well, this was raised by.
Let's forget about talking about the gospel at all, or any of that kind of preaching stuff. What the ruling today said was any act within one of these zones is essentially within the scope. When do we know that the law is going to be broken? So wherever you stand on abortion, whatever you think about Christianity and street preaching, if you value freedom of speech, you ought to be really, really concerned about that ruling today.
Well, and lots of other rulings that we're seeing. You know, we're seeing a lot of laws that are very woolly, and actually they change the goalposts, like hate crimes, for instance. You know, a man couldn't have said he was a woman years ago. They would have laughed you out of court. Yet the same rule and law now will convict a person of a hate crime. The law hasn't changed, but the thoughts, and so the court can consider it now. It's unreasonable. So they can change the goalposts with these woolly laws, can't they? And the judge said here he came to test the law and he crossed the line, is basically what the judges have said. But you're apparently going to look into appealing at some point, well, soon, hopefully. So
yeah, we've got a couple of weeks. We've got a couple of weeks to look at that.
And what are your grounds? Your grounds are that does the law actually say it has to be specifically putting women off the abortion, or does it say if you're preaching, then that is enough? Because that's sort of the bit that's the law, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it doesn't say anything about preaching. And this was a law that was designed to deal with kind of the vocal protests.
Yeah.
When it was being talked about in the Assembly, there were specific assurances made. No, we're not going for this sort of thing. This is about protecting women. Well, I mean, we've seen today that you can't put a great deal of trust in that, and that is the problem.
No, they don't protect women. That's all a lie,
law, isn't it?
It's like when they say they're protecting children. We obviously know they don't care about children.
How serious is this crime?
£450 fine, wasn't it?
He got a £450 fine, yeah.
Okay, so he's not going to prison, right?
He's never had a criminal record, and at 78 years old, he's getting a criminal record. But hopefully you will appeal that.
Yeah, so we'll look at the options for appeal. Yeah, we'll be talking with the lawyers, have been already.
The other thing, of course, as a pastor, because it will be counted as some form of harassment, he would struggle to pass a DBS check now, wouldn't he? DBS
checks, visas. You know, if you want to go abroad, it's a criminal. You'll have a criminal record. Yeah, so there's.
I will say one thing. I think if you go to the American embassy and say that you've been done for preaching outside an abortion clinic, I think you'll get a visa to the United States of America, right? Look, Kieran, I'm just going. I don't want to speak on their behalf, but I think whilst he'll no longer be subject to the visa waiver scheme, I think he'll probably be okay.
He could probably claim asylum.
I think that's going to become a thing, claiming asylum in the United States of America. I mean, it's happened. The Northern Irish have done it before, but it's been Irish Republicans. But I think if there's more attacks on Christians, more attacks on free speech, more attacks on people who oppose uncontrolled immigration, then we will see more cases of people going to America.
And what are his church saying about it? The Association of Baptist Churches in Ireland.
Well, he was his connection to them. He was a president back in the past. He's not president anymore. Yeah. I can't speak for what they've said particularly. I haven't seen if they've said anything or not. What I can tell you is I've had lots and lots of people on our social media channels and so on saying how much they support him, how concerned they are. Glad to hear that we're looking at the options for appeal and all that sort of stuff. But it's not. This isn't just. Can I just say again? This shouldn't just be a Christian thing. Shouldn't just be people with a Christian faith or any kind of faith that are worried about this. Anyone who thinks free speech is important. Anyone who thinks free speech is important should be worried about what happens.
But it is just a Christian thing, though, isn't it? Because every Friday, right across the country, people stand up in mosques after Friday prayers to say how Jews are pigs and Christians should be killed, and nobody cares. The police are not remotely interested in hate crime legislation when it comes to people who've come to this country more recently.
Well, you just see here again that it's another example of if you draft bad law, you get bad results, and that's what we would.
But the attitude of Keir Starmer is very simply this: hand powers to the courts, as many as you can, and they will get the bad guys. And what will happen is the good guys, the radical Islamists, and the bad guys, the anti-abortion Christians. The problem, Kieran, I would suggest to you, is that you are the enemy in your own country.
Well, certainly, I think what I would say is that religious illiteracy particularly around Christianity, is a real problem. I mean, it really is. That they sort of make Christians out to be holding a particular set of beliefs or operating in a particular kind of way. It doesn't have a great deal of connection to the reality of how faithful Bible-believing Christians operate. And so they jump to conclusions about what we believe and what we're going to say and what we're going to do without actually taking the time to talk to.
And in that case, tell us a little bit, just in the dying moments of this interview, about the Christian Institute. What do you represent? Who are you? Because obviously, Asher's Jewish and I'm a Catholic, so neither of us.
Sell it to us, man.
Neither of us are Christians. Ha ha, joking. But you know what I mean. None of us are kind of involved in the more sort of evangelical end of things.
Yeah, so we are an evangelical, non-denominational charity. We've got over 60,000 supporters around the UK and Ireland. We're supported by about 5,500 churches across denominational spectrums, and we deal with public policy issues. We like to promote marriage and the family. We think family is a good thing. We think marriage is a good thing. We think that the sanctity of human life, i.e. not aborting babies and not killing people at the end of their lives because they're deemed to have a terminal illness. We support religious liberty like we see in this case today. And we think Christianity is something good for our nation. We think it's been really good for our nation over hundreds and hundreds of years, that the good things about what makes Britain have their roots in Christianity. And we want to make people aware of that.
It's really interesting.
It's a tough job, but we think it's an important one.
It's a really interesting thing. We are on an election night, and I appreciate, Kieran, that you are going to be somebody who's going to say, look, I'm a non-party political figure. We haven't had this discussion in advance, but I just assume anyone in your position would be. Really interesting to hear what Danny Kruger is saying in his capacity as head of policy for the Reform Party. We've all said that we believe a return to Christianity is important in this country. He says that the constitution of this country is not able to function properly unless we are a fundamentally Christian country, and that in fact it's not a matter of us just being Christians on a Sunday. In fact, actually, our Christian faith must percolate throughout everyday life for our country's system to actually work. I mean, that's far more radical than anything that's been said in relation to Christianity by any other political leader recently.
Yeah, but I think there's been a little bit of a culture shift in people starting to think, do you know what, maybe there was something about Christianity. Maybe actually Christianity wasn't this terrible thing that we've made it out in some of our rewritten history books to be. Actually, perhaps it did do some good. You know, let's pay attention to what it did in terms of the school system, what it did to bring an end to slavery and so on.
And the poor and
as a Christian institute, we would say, Christians ought to be taking their Christianity out into every area of life. It's not something to just get kept away. That was the situation with Clive that we had. He realised that he had something good to share. He didn't want to just keep it to himself, so that's why he was out.
Well, you see a lot of preachers, street preachers now, and they keep getting started on by the police. You see lots of YouTube videos of that. Do you experience and represent people that get trouble out in, preaching in the streets?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Clive's one of them. I'll just do a quick plug for our Street Preachers Charter. Got endorsed by the former Director of Public Prosecutions. So not Keir Starmer, but Ken MacDonald. And that sort of says, look, there's responsibilities on both sides. We don't advocate people going out trying to be obnoxious and trying to get in people's faces and just that's not the Christianity that we are seeking to make known. But the police have responsibilities too. So it sort of says, well, this is what good looks like. These are things you need to take into consideration. But the police need to follow the law as well. And in this particular case,
but the police in general think that Christian preachers are just a bunch of kitsch nutters, don't they? I mean, whether I mean, I'm not saying that's fair. I'm saying that's my general view. They just think, well, anyone who preaches on the street is a lunatic. Ergo, they can be treated however we want.
Well, I think it's just easier. Perhaps they just think it's easier. They're a bit of a... Or somebody says... The problem, what happens is somebody says, I don't like it. So they say, well, they're talking about homophobia. They're saying homophobic things or transphobic things or something else that they don't like, that we've been offended by. We want to get rid of them. And instead of actually investigating and sort of saying, well, actually, there is no evidence of that, the easiest thing in some cases to do is just to say, all right, on your way.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Kieran. That is Kieran Kelly, director of the Christian Institute. Anyway, next we're going to be talking to Mike Salem, UK Country Associate at the Consumer Choice Centre. The city
he needs to have a punchier title, Mike Salem.
Yeah. The city awaits for a significant event for Labour leadership. And we've got Pete Barnes with us. It's talk, but give us a ring, 03444991000. Interesting text from Kevin. He says, guys, purely anecdotal. My local voting station in Portsmouth said turnout was abnormally high for local elections. My sister in Nuneaton said there were queues, and I think this has been one of the most important local elections in the modern times.
Just do a plug, because we will talk to people about what their experiences have been today. Just give them the number.
So yeah, ring us, tell us about, were there queues outside your polling station? 03444991000. It's Talk with Andre and Ash, and we'll be back with Mike Salem, UK Country Associate at the Consumer Choice Centre, after this.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, well, this is Talk with Andre Walker-Nash Gould. This is the Late Show, and chomping at the bit is Mike Salem, who's an expert on all of these things that are going to be really important, things like bond yields, things like government debt, things like market reaction to elections. Do us a favour, Mike, when you sat down a second ago, I said to you that the viewers and listeners to this show are like me. We're busy people, we don't understand all this bond yield and all this sort of thing, but we're not stupid. Explain in a nutshell what the importance of a UK government bond is and what the yield is and how all that works.
And how the elections will affect it.
Yes, that's a very good start, I think.
Yes.
So when it comes to bonds are effectively ways for the government to borrow money, because we are spending so much at the moment, crazy amount of money, and they need a source for all this. So they ask private people like us, like big organisations to fund it, and it comes through something called a bond.
And is a bond like a government IOU then?
If, to some extent, I mean, it's more generally. Let's keep it simple and think of it as as something that the government needs in terms of financial assistance, which we are going to get.
A loan,
indeed, sort of thing. Yes, which you will get some interest on.
Is it a fixed interest rate, or does it vary?
Well, that's where the yield comes in. So the yield is effectively the interest, so how much you get back. If the interest is low, it means that people usually trust the government, they trust the fiscal plans, they think there's political stability. But what we've seen from the news today, that the yield can go up, which means that the people don't trust the government, they don't trust at least the political stability. And from what we've seen is that, well, money talks, and money doesn't think Starmer's in a good position. They think Angela Rayner, they think Andy Burnham, they think West Streeting, they're going to try and go for the leadership. And they are worried because that causes political instability.
That'll actually make it worse than just Starmer staying put. Is that what the thought is?
It's tricky because, you know, if not Starmer, then who?
That's the thing, isn't it?
That's the difficulty, and we've had already too many U-turns.
Could it get worse though with the next lot?
Well, it may well be. Well, indeed, not just depends. What I very much enjoyed the Daily Mail headline today when Starmer was saying, "Well, if it's not me, who is it going to be? Angie or Burnham?" And
Miliband, he doesn't want to do it, does he?
But just to get it back to the real basics, because I just want to nail this. So, I'm sat here as a UK taxpayer, and the bond yield goes up. So what happens is somebody does something stupid and the yield goes up, therefore the government pays more interest on its loans. How does that affect me as a taxpayer?
Well, you're going to have your prices go up. I mean, you look at the grocery shoppings, for instance, that will go up. Why? Because the markets don't trust the economy anymore, so that means prices will go up.
Inflation,
it also means, indeed. So your shopping basket might go up
because interest rates are going up.
Indeed.
Therefore, everything goes up.
So I'll pay more tax. I'll pay more in interest rates, and I'll pay more for my groceries as well. So these bond yield things are really, really, really important. Now, I've got another question for you. Once again, really simple question. I heard down the pub, which is a great start to any political debate.
It's the best place. It's a great place to measure inflation, I can tell you.
Okay,
yes.
So I heard down the pub that all of that stuff that happened with the mini budget under Kwasi Kwarteng and Liz Truss, and the yield went up or whatever, it's almost as bad now as it was then. So when everybody was grabbing their pearls in shock at what had happened under Kwasi Kwarteng, actually now that's the normal order of the day. Is that right or wrong?
The main concern was with Liz Truss's budget is that the concern was on how funding the tax cuts were going to come about, because there was lots of tax funding, which is always very welcome. I like less taxes on my tax bill, but where was the money going to come from? Because we didn't really cut spending. We wanted to keep the energy caps, for instance. So that was the real conundrum, and that shock at such a short time span.
That's what my mate said. I said, but it's just as bad as Liz Truss. He said, but it wasn't that. It was the speed of the Liz Truss one that caused. But Liz Truss maintains that she wasn't told that a few days before the Bank of England had sold these gilts, like 2/3 of they caused the problem, didn't tell her, and it was sort of almost an inside job, she suggests. What's your view on that?
I think there's a real communication problem there. I think both sides did not really talk to each other to explain what they're planning to do, and that screwed them over, both of them.
But she had to be told everything, and she wasn't. I mean, she was the Prime Minister.
Well, indeed, and I think that's a crucial part of
So was it a stitch-up, like she says, do you think?
Well, it's a tricky question. I think lots of things happen in government. I mean, look at Starmer, for example. He said he wasn't told about Mandelson and all that.
But he's just lying.
Well, indeed, I couldn't possibly comment. But the reality is the size of government is so big that politicians nowadays are not even aware what's happening under their leadership. And reality is we need to cut it, we need to reduce it, and for us to be better off as citizens, we need to cut spending, we need to show that we are fiscally responsible. We're going to take care of our books, balance the books, take care of our spending, not spend more than we actually take in.
But we're not fiscally responsible, are we? I mean, I
look at our welfare bill.
When I say we, I mean, let me give you the most basic example. We cannot house our own people, and yet we've opened the floodgates to the Islamic world. It's just crazy.
And, economically, this is very important because we talk about because we have to come together as a whole now. This is not a political party affair anymore. People's lives are at stake. We don't want people to lose their homes. We don't want people to be on the streets. We don't want people not to be able to eat. So the Labour government really needs to think up seriously how they're going to tackle this potential market shock. And again, if not Starmer, then who? And I'd be worried about their fiscal plans, because are they just going to jack up spending to appeal to voters and say, look, we're going to increase spending on this and that, and we're going to reduce your tax bill? But
that's the problem we've had, because what we've spent our time doing is thinking about short term. Right, so as an example, my mate from university was telling me about what they did in Singapore, and I can't fully explain it, but what they did was they got everyone to put a bit aside as a proper national insurance scheme to pay for their healthcare. And 50, 60, 70 years later, they actually now have a proper wealth fund that can do that. But it might take you 50 years to get into that position. We would never do that in this country. The average amount of time that money is kept in the national insurance pot is 4 weeks. That is the amount of time until the next payout.
And I think personal responsibility is very important. And sadly, we got to a stage where the current way of funding the welfare state is just not sustainable. And sadly, we've lost that generational contract between the young and the old, where we look out for our older people, and they look out for us, making sure they leave a better country for us for when they pass on. And sadly, we haven't done that.
Well, it's that older generation are getting the blame. The boomers, aren't they? They've done very nicely, and they pulled the drawbridge up. That's what's being said as well.
And I think this is two ways, because obviously they need people to look after them. Yes. And we need to look after them, but then they need to also make sure that they leave.
But the big concern about that, and we're going to have to go to a break in a second, this fascinating conversation is, because of the transfer of property from, if you like, theoretically young people having it to old people very definitely having it, the solution will come that the state will take all those properties in the form of large payments for elderly care and not give them to young people, and we'll end up in a position where everybody's in a council house. Nothing wrong with the council house, but in my day they were meant to be for the poor.
I mean, housing is a real issue, and whatever the government plans are, they need to see how they are being funded, and ultimately we should have the right to choose where we want to live. So, as a young man, I want to be able to buy a house where I can afford, and not
my point is, the transfer in wealth will not be from old to young, it will be from old to state.
And that's very concerning. And we don't want the state to be involved in this. Well, at least the least involved as possible, because actually wealth belongs to us, the people, and the state is only there to make sure that...
But that's not what our state at the moment thinks. Anyway, we've got to take a little break.
Mike is so fascinating that we're over the break.
He's going to stay here. Mike Salem is here. We're talking all about... And we're going to talk about gilts as well, because there's gilts and stuff like that and what's going to happen. So 03444 1000. If you got any questions, we've got Pete Barnes here as well. It's Andre Nash on Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, I think we're going to go to a little bit of breaking news with Pete Barnes.
Yeah, so we've got the Nowcast polls have come in for Scotland and for Wales. These are the very rough ones that we've got. But so it's looking like Plaid Cymru have taken the Senedd and Reform have come second. That's 37 for Plaid and 34 seats for Reform. Labour dropped to third with to 13 seats with only 14% of the vote. And then we've also then got the Scottish results. The SNP have retained Holyrood. They've got 56 seats and Reform have come second with 19. That is an amazing result. Congratulations, Reform, if that turns out to be true. Labour down to 13.
And just to quote Jon Snow, just a bit of fun at this stage.
Yeah, just a bit of fun. Honestly, my favourite thing, if I'm ever having a bad day, I just listen to the kind of the groan in the audience when Boris Johnson won on Channel 4, because they all seem so shocked because there was such a big poll. But yeah, this is actually quite amazing. So the SNP they've dropped 8 seats, but considering how bad their general election results were in 2024, this is actually quite a good night for them.
Now look, Pete is staying with us, but we don't have a huge amount of time with Mike Salem. So Chris from Epsom has phoned up just to talk to Mike Salem, which we're going to do. So Chris, take it away.
Hi, Andre, Ash, Peter, Mike.
Can you not hear?
I can't hear Chris, I'm afraid.
Okay,
we'll tell you what he's saying.
Okay, do tell me, yes.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, well, good evening to all of you.
All right, man.
I think it's a bit unfair to talk about the bond market without explaining that it's just a Ponzi scheme. It's a debt that's never going to be paid back. It's a debt that creates interest that's controlled by the markets and the banks, and you can trade them if you've got them. It's a bit of a joke, really.
So let me put that to Mike. So I don't know. Did you hear any of that?
A bit. I got the Ponzi scheme. But,
He's saying it will never get paid back. It's a Ponzi scheme.
It'll never get paid back.
Well, I think many people feel that way, and the reality of that is because our spending is such vast amounts now.
Yeah.
I mean, we are looking at colossal amount of spending, and we have no intention of paying it back. We have no intention of actually financing our own country.
The ability? I mean, I know we borrowed 13 billion in February this year, and 12 billion of it was just to pay interest on our national debt.
Indeed.
Am I? Let me get this right then. So it sounds like you're agreeing with Chris, not in the term Ponzi scheme, that it will never be paid back. So the reason that I loan the British government £1 is because they're going to give me 3 pence every year forever. Is that correct?
Well, you can never guarantee anything from the government. They can change. The problem is they can change the rules. Now, this is.
But the point is, I'm not expecting to get my £1 back. I'm expecting them to pay interest on that £1 forever.
To some extent, depends on what sort of...
what the terms and conditions are.
What you got, and you can get other countries' ones, for instance. I mean, many people pay for Japan's one, for instance. But reality is, look, we need to show that we are a serious country financially. We need to show that we take our money seriously, we know what we're doing, and we are spending sensibly. And we're not doing that, and the effect of that means that interest rates get messed up. It means that the value of the pound in your pocket reduces. It becomes less. People don't trust the currency you're using because they don't trust the government that backs.
Because they could end up printing money, which is like reverse taxation.
Do you know what the funny thing is about Mike? I'm just looking at him now, Pete. They've not put the earpiece in his ear.
Yeah, I noticed this. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
You don't want to put him in. You don't know who ordered that. But how would you reverse
So
it?
we've hooked him up, but not put him.
If you were the Chancellor,
just about,
how would you reverse the situation? If you were Chancellor or Prime Minister, how could you turn this around? I mean, is it a taxation thing? Is it pumping oil and gas? Is it reducing red tape? How would you reduce
I think it might be too late for Labour, to be honest, now.
Oh, yeah, they won't do it with the backbenchers, will they?
Because you have to take some difficult choices, and I don't think they have the courage to do so, and they tried. They tried, for example, to keep the cap on the 2-child benefit, for instance, and they failed because of political pressure.
And the 5 billion cut in welfare, which wouldn't even touch the sides, that got
And you look at the winter fuel means tested measures. Also, you need to have difficult decisions and stick with them. And Labour hasn't. And every time it's U-turned, it actually costed more money.
But the other problem is we just hear this perfunctory "let's tax the rich." I mean, if you look at Angela Rayner, what happened to her was she discovered she was the rich. right? And she thought, my God, well, we need to tax.
But you lose the rich, don't you? I mean, look at New York. California as well. They're losing, they've just lost, what's his name, Facebook guy, and he pays billions in tax, and they're losing all the top industry people who pay personal tax on the state.
And we should encourage people to do well. I mean, if I find my trade and I do well in it, why should I be punished for it?
Exactly. I mean, Elon Musk, he's provided enormous things like Starlink, Tesla, and yet they say, oh yeah, you should pay more tax.
The problem is the government has made people poor through its through its poor governance, and it simply shouts tax the rich. Now, okay, look, at the end of the day, when you're talking about socio-economic band A, we've changed the rules, as you know, years ago, from upper class and middle class to this socio-economic band A, B, C, D, and whatever. The reason is because, yes, there are some people who are as rich as Sarah Ferguson was, but there's not many of them. Actually, the reality is, to be rich in this country, I would suggest, in percentage terms, you earn 60 grand a year.
Yeah, and that's a sad reality. Why should it only be 60? I mean, if I think of someone rich, they should be earning over £100,000, right?
60 grand is the average wage in the States. Yeah, that's how far we've got. We were level with the States. But if you were talking, if you want to say the top, the rich, if you like, poor is the bottom 20%, rich is the top 20%. The top 20% are people who earn 50, 60 grand a year.
Yeah, there was a very funny Question Time episode when once someone didn't know that they were in the top bracket by saying, I only earn £80,000. And it's like, yes, you would be in the top 1%. But the sad reality as well is that the top 1% of the income earners pay 30% of the tax bill.
That's right, yeah.
So it's actually very unequal. And you might think whether it's fair or not. That's up to you. I don't think it's fair personally. People.
Well, there's also the Laffer curve you've got to consider.
Indeed, people should not be punished for their success, and that's very important. If I'm a plumber and I do really well in my plumbing business, made it up in London and become a big plumber, why should I be punished for the hard work?
Well, like Charlie Mullins, who is a plumber, sold it for 150, and he got out, and they've lost that.
I love the way they call him Dino Rod Stewart. I think that's superb, isn't it?
I like the number plates. I like the customised one. They're quite good.
All those number plates.
But they employ people. They understand the common man's plight. So why are we punishing those people that make it big?
Are they trying to destroy and bring down the economy? Are they Marxists just trying to bring everything down and start again?
I think they don't realise how difficult governance is. I think they talked all the talk leading up to the election, and then they actually got in charge, and they said the grown-ups are back in charge, and they are struggling. And governance is not easy, especially when the state machinery is so big, which is why it's so important to slash it now.
We just need to raise the sharp. I mean, I remember when I was in local government, I thought, how on earth do you run an organisation that deals with wedding receptions, children's services, bin collection, care for the elderly? And you think nobody would put this in. It always reminds me of when Granada Television owned service stations on the motorway and just sold them because they said, we're a television company. The idea that you are the person that does marriages and elderly care. Nobody would found an institution like that.
Like the Co-op, you could go and buy a shop and have a funeral. But will they be able to turn it around? We've only got a minute, less than 30 seconds. Will the next government, whoever it is, be able to turn it around, reform Tories?
I think that they have to, for our sake. What we need to do is we need to make sure that we stick to the essentials that the government should provide and do it well. That's the trick. We don't need to have this inflated state. We actually need to bring it down and reduce it.
And the job of government should be delivering services, not redistribution of wealth.
Right.
Well, yes, amongst many little things that they shouldn't be doing.
Thanks for joining us, Mike. That's Mike, UK Country Associate, The Consumer. You've got to find a better title. But anyway, thanks for that. Come on again soon. It's Andre and Ash. Pete's with us. He'll be with us again. I don't know. We'll find out.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Pete Barnes. This show obviously has to go out with a health warning in that results are coming in for the local elections all the way through the night, and some of the counts, like in Runnymede and indeed in Surrey, are taking place probably tomorrow afternoon, I think. But we're going to give you some information about what's happened. And Pete, the key breaking news, which won't be perhaps as breaking when this repeats on Friday morning, but tell us what it is.
Yeah, so it's looking like this is the Nowcast polling. So this is like the first one that we've got after the actual polls have closed, and it's looking like Reform have taken, they've come second in both Scotland and in Wales. Plaid Cymru have taken the control of the Senedd, and the SNP have they've retained control of Holyrood. But they for them to come second is actually groundbreaking. What it also means now is Labour is only realistically an England-based party. They do not represent. They do not have control of the entire country. They do not. Their representation has gone down in Scotland in particular. It's they've only been able to take. I'm just reading the results here. It's looking like they've got about 18% of the vote at most, which is absolutely catastrophic. This is a real.
So what is this? This is the final poll before? So we haven't got all the results.
No. So this is just kind of the rough one that after the first kind of sift, because don't forget they don't use first past the post. They use constituency. I think it's
modified the whole.
Anything on the turnouts in these?
Nothing that I've got so far, but literally it's all starting to come in now because like we said, the polls closed about an hour ago. So
this is the first big election that Reform are actually showing they're a real threat now. How have the Tories done in all this?
So actually, to be fair, the Tories, I'm looking here. Actually, to be fair, in Wales they've got 6 seats, and in Scotland they've got 12. They've actually gone down by 19 seats. This is a prediction again. In Scotland,
so this is Reform stealing their lunch.
Yeah, because it's funny. Reform have gone up by. They've predicted 19 seats, so they've switched from Conservatives to Reform.
I mean, the question that would be interesting for you to answer, Pete, is. Are you with Jacob Rees-Mogg that if you like, the number of votes for the left and the number of votes for the right have remained pretty static, but what has happened is it's fractured on the left between the Greens in England, Plaid Cymru in Wales and the SNP in Scotland, and then on the right it's moved to Reform.
Yeah, I also think you used the key word there, fractured. I always say is the two-party system didn't collapse, it kind of shattered and went everywhere, and basically it's like little shards of glass, and you could put the whole thing back together if you really wanted to. But again, it's funny, I've just actually now some more of the data's come through. Greens in Scotland gone up by 6, Labour went down by 5. So it was realistically the Labour and the Tories went down by 19. Reform are predicted to get 19 seats. It is a straight switch between the two.
So your background, Pete, is the same as mine, as we are conservatives, not anymore.
Northern Tories.
But the thing that always makes me laugh is, what will this election do to the thing that we hear most of all, which is the Conservatives saying Nigel Farage is going to have to stand down for us so we can win the election. He's going to split the vote. And the Conservative Party remains in the mentality that they are the predominant brand and it is for everybody else to bow and scrape to them. Will that change tonight?
It will, depending on turnout and depending on vote share. This is the bit where we really got to see whether they've moved from protest anger to institutional power, because that means you've not just got the Reform vote. You've actually been able to attract other voters. What is looking like from these results? That's not happened. Okay. They've only switched.
Nigel would never defer to Cammy.
No, not anymore.
No, I don't think he ever would do.
But it would be the other way around.
Yeah, I agree with you. It would be the other way around.
I've got to be honest with you. I honestly think that these parties are not necessarily competitive against each other. If you look at where Reform is doing well, the Conservatives were never doing well there anyway.
No, they weren't. I
mean, okay, we've been talking about Wigan. Okay, the Conservatives won Lee, but that was the Brexit thing, it was the Boris thing, and James Grundy happened to be a particularly popular local councillor. Right. For Wigan, which is Wigan, Lee and Makerfield parliamentary constituencies, to become safe reform, which I think they potentially will.
Yeah.
You know, that's something the Conservatives could never have achieved.
Oh, they never would do. But again, I think it is this element of betrayal. That the people actually are the Conservative base in those seats is more motivated by being let down and being betrayed by the Conservative Party, which makes them a motivated voter base, which is what Reform genuinely need, because they're no longer being viewed as the kind of insurgent force that is the Green Party now. They're being viewed as, can they actually run anything? Is what we call valence politics.
And Kemi's now seen, she's got her, star is rising, but they still see the old Tories behind her.
And that's the key difference.
I thought the Kemi anti-Semitism thing was brilliant.
Yes, I agree.
And just for those who didn't see it, we may be able to get the video, although we didn't warn anybody about it. What happened was she's doing a street stall and somebody comes up and starts going on about Gaza and Islamophobia and whatever, and she said, it's the Jews that are being attacked. I'm afraid. What about the Muslims? No, the Muslims are not being attacked. It's the Jews, and I'm not willing to back down on that subject. Yeah. And I thought that was brilliant.
Agreed. Yeah, she actually said the thing that should have been said a very long time ago. And, and it's...
Yeah, because what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to allow jihadis to knife and shoot Jewish people and then say how sorry we are for the Muslim community.
Yeah, the heckler just kept going, Gaza. And it was as though saying the word means something. It's very clear that particular person had no idea what they're talking about. They've just been indoctrinated into this idea. But I will say, I actually picked up on a really, really good point here. People like Kemi, the problem is the party brand is still toxic. And so this is why that Kemi seems to be polling very well. Her favourability is one of the highest. But the Conservative brand is not really moving as a party.
Although, with that in mind, what few results we've got, the poll of polls on electoral calculus, which is a rough stick at the moment.
That's all the polls combined.
Is saying that if there was a general election based on what we know about yesterday or earlier today, the Conservatives would be on 112 seats, Labour would be on 78, that's down from 412. Lib Dems on 61, Reform on 248, the Greens on 66, which is bigger than the Liberal Democrats, SNP 46, Plaid Cymru 15. What that would mean
That'd be a hung parliament, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be a hung parliament, but it would mean that you would get 360
with a combination,
360 Conservative and Reform together. Now, officially, you need 325 MPs to form a majority. Sorry, 326 to form a majority, because you need more than half. That is not true, because you've got the Northern Irish Republicans, Sinn Féin IRA, who will not take their seats, and you've got the Speaker who does not vote.
No, that's the yes.
And then you've got various people who are dead.
Yeah, yes.
They have to join up Reform and Tory, don't they? Really, that has to happen.
If you actually look at electoral calculus, they do with the MMRP poll, so that's kind of if there was the seats, which is what Andre's just read out. Reform would be short by 78.
Yes.
What's interesting is I keep using this point. 10 months ago, they had a predicted majority of over 200, and now they're at minus 78. But that is not because of other factors. That is because the public has moved, the party didn't.
But if that Gorton and Denton result was followed through the whole country, repeated across the whole country, they would. The Reform would have 441 seats.
Yes.
So I think actually, my own view remains that the Conservatives and Reform will form the next government. Nigel Farage as Prime Minister, and hopefully, I would hope Jack Rankin as Deputy Prime Minister. Kemi gets out of the way and put Rankin in instead.
Yeah.
That's only because he's a mate of mine.
Yeah. I don't know. It all depends on who ends up being the largest party and who ends up with the bigger vote share, because I go back to 2010. The Labour Party still tried to form a coalition despite losing the election, and it's all about having that mandate. This is why we look at turnout and vote share mainly, because it shows you've got the country backing. You might not have the parliamentary seat, but you've got the majority of the people that turned out to the polls, and in reality, the political force, that's the one that matters. The majority in terms of parliament matters in terms of passing the laws, but in terms of actually saying that you have the will of the people, That's the bit that really counts.
What about this? Just let me read this comment. Andre, why would anybody vote for reform to run their local councils? They've been an absolute disaster. 70 of their councillors have either resigned or been suspended or been sacked. At 70 sounds high, but it's not gone well. It's
not gone well, and this is the big problem. And it's one of the reasons.
This is a new party, though.
Yes, but this is also the reason reform should only aim to come second.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because you don't have any actual responsibility other than holding people to account, which is what reform's skill set is.
If you were to be the opposition in Wales for a term, opposition in Scotland for a term, your people would improve like that.
Oh, yeah.
They'd really...
It's like June Whitfield always said, always be number 2 on the bill, because if it goes well, you get the plaudits, but if it goes badly, you get away with it.
Exactly.
The Soaraway Sun, and it turns out we were the star of the Met Gala, Britain. Kim's boobs, that's Kim Kardashian, were sprayed by a car shop in Kent, a body shop, and she wore a fiberglass creation, and it was painted by an auto repair shop in Kent.
Those boobs, to be fair, look like, do you know those police traffic cones?
They're very pert.
I was waiting for you to say that, actually.
Martin Smith, 55, spent 13 hours on the orange fiberglass creation at his garage in Lydd. He felt very proud at seeing reality star Kim, and there he is presenting it. And look where his hand is. He should probably move his hand and not carry it.
Do you know I get invited? I get invited to the Met Gala, not the main one, but all the ancillary parties every year. Unbelievably, there are 2 Andre Walkers who worked at the New York Observer at the same time. Right. One of them is a fashion designer. The other one is me.
No way.
Right. And so I get all these emails to Andre.
It's funny you bring that up. It's because there's a Peter Barnes who's an election analysis for the BBC.
Is that right?
There's a Peter Barnes for NBC who's also an elections analysis.
Is that right?
Yeah. And it's happened on LinkedIn, and we get each other's emails. We kind of vaguely know each other because people want to get in touch with each other.
It's a bit like the Harry Corbett. There was Harry H. Corbett, Steptoe and Son. There was Harry Corbett, the man who invented Sooty and Sweep, and they wanted to give Harry H. Corbett an MBE, but they sent it to Harry Corbett, and so in the end they said, well, he's done a lot for kids, so let's bring them both, and Harry Corbett's got an MBE in the same year.
I love that. It's very British.
That's right. Ash is absolutely right. They discovered a couple of weeks before. They went, but he hasn't got his letter. Yeah, but we gave it to Harry Corbett, the entertainer. Not that one.
Yeah, that sounds also very much like British bureaucracy at the moment.
But they were both
my
iconic.
My favourite story is if you get a writ to attend the House of Lords, whatever is written on it is your peerage. Right. So if you are, as an example, and this happened, you're Lord Barnes of Wigan, and they say Lord Wigan, you become both Lord Barnes of Wigan and Lord Wigan. You get a second peerage.
Wow.
Do you get double bubble? 700 a day when you go home.
You get 3.
But my favourite story of them all, Duke of Devonshire, who's from Derbyshire. Not only is there no county called Devonshire, and there never has been, that family have never been associated with Devon at all. Wow. They reckon the king had a couple.
No way.
And he was meant to be the Duke of Derbyshire.
That's hilarious. That's so funny.
The other story in the Sun, Andrew Battenberg, that's former Prince Andrew, was chased by an armed man in a balaclava outside his home, outside Sandringham. The man raced out of the car and shouted at the disgraced ex-prince before a guard called police at Marsh Farm. He's now arguing he wants to up his security because obviously it's been downgraded.
Well, I have to say,
just stay in the house, Andrew. No, I don't never leave the house.
Justice should take its course, but this sort of vigilantism I don't approve of.
But I agree. But I actually think this is actually down to the authorities not being open enough and actually informing the public on what they're doing. This is the problem. The gap and the silence is actually only fueling the conspiracies, and these people. I think there's 1,000 incidences with the royal family of hyper obsessed people. So this isn't uncommon, but what was he doing walking so close to a public road? I know a bit about this story, and yet again, where is his security?
Well, I've seen King Charles walking around up in Scotland on his own. He must have security around him.
I'd like to think so, but I agree with you that he's not been found guilty of a crime.
It's really interesting. I remember when I worked in Parliament and they had the fixated persons unit, and you had to phone them up if somebody was obsessed with you, and they were experts on.
Imagine if they came back and went, "They're not."
What was the fixated person? I worked with a girl, very attractive blonde girl, who, when people discovered she worked at the House of Commons, they used to send a sort of, well, I won't say exactly, but our fantasies right? R-A-P-E fantasies. And it's like, my God. I said, right, we're reporting all of those.
Yeah.
If you send that into somebody going, I'd love to meet you after work, and I mean...
It happened to James Whale. There was a guy who used to call into James, and he actually met him in the car park after James cut him off, and he ended up murdering two lead surgeons. He was a schizophrenic, and I remember I was working with him in about 98, and we got a letter from the police saying, oh, by the way, we're releasing that guy that you were next on the list to be killed, just to let you know.
Just to let you know.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So
the worst story I heard was a bloke who was an ambulance driver in Morecambe. He got called to the stabbing of a woman. It was his daughter, and she died in his arms.
Jesus.
Horrendous.
Well, a similar story to that, actually, in the Metro. I touched a hand that used to be my daughter's. And this story is Mum Jackie Kerwin has met the transplant patient who received her daughter's left hand and says she would be over the moon to see the difference the gift has made to Kim Smith. Georgie Peterson died at 33 last August after years of brain seizures caused by a rare disorder. Very sad, that is. She registered as a donor at 17, so her family had to confirm her wish. Jackie, her mother, said it was the easiest decision to agree. I stopped for a moment when the nurse asked about Georgie's limbs, but Georgie had said it was the soul that's important, and I agreed. You don't get to know where donations go due to patient confidentiality. So it's quite... I mean, she's there holding her daughter's hand on another person.
Yeah,
It's amazing,
I still think I agree with this kind of, you shouldn't meet the other person, because I can see how you could become obsessed.
Well, they even do face transplants now. There was that chimpanzee.
I mean, there was a terrible film called Face Off, which had John Travolta
and Nicolas Cage. Yeah.
And
it was amazing makeup, because when he looked like Nicolas Cage, it really did look
I
like
have to admit,
Cage.
that bit was all right, but I will say that, I don't...
And Nicolas Cage really looked like John Travolta in it. It was incredible how the makeup...
I don't know how I feel about this story.
I know.
If I'm honest,
Would you want to touch the hand? And
I don't think I would.
But it's nice to see your daughter's parents.
I was on a different TV show, and they were talking about having, if your child dies, having a doll of your child that with AI can talk like the child and whatever, like a robot child. And I went, I think that's a good idea because it'll help you get over it. And that Dr. Crispian, whatever his name is, Dr. Christian Jensen. He said, oh no, it's a really bad idea because you won't get over your child's death. They'll just always be there. And then I went, well, I've just completely changed my mind now.
In Victorian times, there was often child deaths, and you would then take the child, dress it up, and pose in a photo, and they would tie it to a chair to make it look. I mean,
Victorian England was weird.
Well, it was a way to remember them. I
think the other
death masks and things like that.
In Victorian England, they were just used to people dropping dead. They were just well up for like this.
It used to be a practice that you didn't name a child till they got to the age of 3 because they were unlikely to survive.
Is that right?
Yeah. So why there's so many cherubs in Renaissance art? They're all the dead children.
No. Yeah. And you didn't bother giving them boys or girls' clothes until about 5?
Yeah.
Because no point in buying them.
They all wore dresses, didn't they?
Yeah.
No point.
Pink used to be the boy colour as well at one point.
Still is in some places. The Daily Star, news with a wink. Andrew chased by a man in Balaclava. Andy Windsor was chased by a man in a balaclava while out walking his dogs. Man has been arrested for possession of an offensive weapon and public order offence. The Guardian, criminals using photos on school websites to create abuse imagery. Head teachers advise to remove pupils' pictures after...
No! Remove the nutters from society. Right? Schools publishing photos of kids. I remember once when they were going... I asked when I was in local government about parents taking photos at nativity plays, and they said, you can't take a photo of a child and publish it without permission. I went, I've just watched the Olympics. Tom Daley is 14 and walking around his underpants. And they went, we don't know how that's legal. And yet it happens. I've got to be honest with you. I think this whole not taking photos at nativities is terrible. I think the whole idea of taking photos of children off websites off school websites is terrible. We've got to just arrest the loonies.
Exactly. Why yet again do we keep not going after the criminals? I don't understand this. I get the whole protecting children aspect of it, of course I do. But yet again, we're missing the key point, is that we've got people in our society that are doing this, and they seem to be getting away with it.
When I went to the Greater London Authority, you know the reason they put the sign in the thing in Trafalgar Square what's it called? The fountains in Trafalgar Square. God, mind went blank for a second. The fountains in Trafalgar Square. The reason they put signs in saying "Do not get in" is because kids were getting in there in their underwear, and perverts were taking pictures of them. Why not arrest the perverts?
Yeah, I know.
Why have we spoiled the kids?
We have a prison problem. That's the
but why are we spoiling the kids' fun?
Yeah, but you don't make a jump in the fair.
I mean, I'll tell you what. There's a fountain in Windsor. Right, which is like nirvana for the under fives. Right, they just think it's the best thing they've ever been to. Right, and they all run around in it and throw themselves in and all that sort of thing. We should be supporting that if that's what they like doing. Right, if people are turning up to be dodgy, nick them.
Yeah.
We can't do that. Can't bother doing
Human
that.
rights.
Yeah, human rights.
PM at the polls, Starmer's cast their votes in crucial local Nez Keir and Victoria Sponge.
He's looking.
No, she's lovely, Victoria.
He's looking a bit odd with his wife, isn't he? He doesn't see her very often.
No, because apparently she's even moved out of number 10.
Is that preempting him leaving?
Well, from what has been rumoured anywhere around Westminster is the fact that the kids and the wife have moved out of number 10 because of the anti-Semitism issue. Don't forget that his wife is Jewish, and yet that has caused a huge family rift, and they're literally at war with each other. However,
right?
I think using her as a prop in an election to seem more kind of common, like the common man.
Can I be honest with you? Look, people have made jokes about him being gay. It's not true. It isn't true.
I don't think that's true.
The reality is, the reason he lived in Lord Ali's flat is because they hate each other that much.
Yeah.
They were unwilling to share the same house during lockdown.
I think
that's the reality.
That's the reality of it.
I mean, I don't know why we're all pretending we don't know that. Because everyone does.
I think it's also the fact that we don't want to admit that somehow we want our prime ministers to be married.
Yeah.
I think that's a big question.
I mean, she doesn't want the Prime Minister to be married,
she definitely doesn't want the Prime Minister to be married.
Where's Edward Heath, wasn't there?
Well, yeah, and you know, it's because you look back to Theresa May, for example.
I guess we've got to say allegedly.
Yeah.
But when
it's not libelous, is it?
But when people get in touch with us saying, "Oh, he's gay, he's dating Lord Ali," that's not the rumour.
No.
Basically, she just hates him that much, and she said, "I'm only willing to be I'm only willing to be the Prime Minister's trophy wife if you buy me all the dresses I need, because I'm not turning up like the bag lady."
Exactly.
And he had to borrow the money.
Oh yeah,
that's what was said.
I know. I always find it funny that he spent all that money and that's what he got in return.
What, her?
Yeah, no, I mean Lord Ali.
No, she's
I'll tell you what, if I'm being honest, if we're going to objectivise women, she's pretty slim for a woman her age, isn't she?
I don't know how old she is.
She's a bit younger than me. I've known her all my life, you know, because we've got share relatives.
Oh, right, okay.
She's over 50.
How old is
She's
he?
lovely, yeah. He's a bit older than me. He's about 60 and
I think he's 60, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't look 60.
No.
Doesn't look great, but he doesn't look 60.
He does look good for his age, but...
He does his
She's
football.
taller than him, though. That's a bit...
Does she sort of walk a bit further back for perspective?
He's not wearing his high heels in that picture, though.
Oh, that was Sarkozy, wasn't it? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
that was bizarre.
That was bizarre.
That was bizarre to look at.
His wife, as Elon Musk had said, his wife is a man.
But not only that, it's his father.
That is one of the spentest things I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Carla Bruni's his father.
Oh no, it was the other one, wasn't it? Daily Telegraph. China exploited work from home to spy on UK. They're in our toasters. They're in everything. Anyway, let's see what the fuss is about. China exploited the Home Office's remote working policy to spy on the UK in the first case of its kind. A Border Force official accessed a Home Office database on his days off to trawl through sensitive details for his handlers as part of a shadow policing operation on British soil. A court heard the security breach was revealed during a spy trial at the Old Bailey. Now, this is interesting because I know I've heard that if you've got a Chinese car now, businesses are saying whatever you do, don't plug your phone into the USB sockets. We heard things about toasters and fridges and smart things that they can spy on us. There was a Huawei thing, wasn't there?
Yeah, let's also not forget that they found a bug in the Prime Minister's car. I mean, that was was it under Boris? No, Theresa May. I'm sure it was Theresa
And they don't
May.
hide it.
Yeah.
They
We gave them the super embassy. This is only going to get worse. This is only going to get worse. It is ridiculous to the situation we find ourselves with in China. But I talk about this one all the time. You don't have to worry about the spy. We just welcomed them in the front door.
Who is the spy? And how is Rich? How is Jonathan Powell and Lord Harmer getting on?
They seem quite suey, so I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, they've been having a bit of chow mein recently, haven't they?
Yeah. Well, let's not forget who is also off to China next week. Donald Trump. Donald Trump meets President Xi, and so that will be.
No, take Jonathan Powell with you.
He's probably already there.
034444991,000. We're going through we're going through all the papers. We've got Pete Barnes with us going through all the stories. The exit polls are out. Looks like Reform have done very well. We'll be back after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and this is a slightly difficult pay-per-view to present. It's with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Pete Barnes, simply because the situation is very fluid. Obviously, on Thursday, earlier today or yesterday, depending on when you're listening to this broadcast, there were the English local council elections, and indeed the elections for the Scottish Parliament and Welsh Assembly. Some of the results are coming in, and some we are awaiting, and some won't even start counting until later today.
Yeah.
But we're fairly certain that the Greens and Reform have had a phenomenal night.
Yes, they have, and what's more important is it seems to be that the Labour vote has gone to the Green Party, the Tory vote has gone to Reform. That's not really great for Reform, because it means that they've not broken into the core kind of a Labour vote. So, you know, but this, again, it's so annoying, because at the moment we don't really know anything.
But the problem is, so I'm looking, there's what, 136 local councils to declare.
Yeah.
The problem that we have is that not all of them actually have all of their seats being contested.
Yeah.
Some of you will have voted not at all. Some of you will have voted for all of the seats in your local area. Some of you will have voted for a third of them. Yeah. Therefore, actually, the result will be mixed across the country.
Yeah, and you know, this is. Also, you have to remember it's different electoral systems. It's you know, there's so many different factors. Particularly if we look at Scotland and Wales, they've got the nationalism issue. Yeah, particularly when it comes to independence, that seems to have always kept the SNP alive. But it's looking like a very terrible night for Labour, a very terrible night for the Tories. Which one of those two actually has the worst night in terms of when we look at the vote share, we look at turnouts and all these other bits? It's going to be more interesting, I think.
Well, I mean, the Conservatives are defending 1,400 seats,
Yes.
whereas Labour are defending 2,500. So
Yeah.
that has to be borne in mind.
Oh, definitely. And if you go back to the last lot of local elections, the Tories had this problem where they kind of in reverse, where they were defending the vast majority of seats. That's why their collapse was scorecard bigger. That's why I always say that top number is something that you kind of argue in the headlines, but it's the weeks after, it's very soon forgotten about, and it's the other details that actually
So
really
a bit of breaking news. We reckon that there's been an unusually high turnout in Essex.
Well, that's quite big because that's key reform territory, and if they don't really win there, they've got a bit
why
of a
don't we just
problem.
remind everybody what's happened in Essex, which is that Essex is going to be abolished as a county council, and therefore the Conservatives did not want any election. I'll tell you what we're going to do. Why don't we go to another break? Let's fix this microphone problem, and then we'll get back to you, because I'm not sure which of us it is.
We'll find out and tell you all about it after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is the Late Show with Andre Walker. Well, this is a press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Pete Barnes. We were just talking before the break about Essex. This was the election that the Conservatives didn't want to happen, simply because the new county council will negotiate its own abolition. I think that's the most important job a council could possibly do.
They try to cancel these elections, didn't they?
This is a really important point, yeah.
And the ones they try to cancel, can you see why they tried to cancel them? Is this?
Yeah, so it's we've not got a lot of the data to see whether it's actually had a direct effect, but just in general, the Labour Party and certain Conservative councils tried to cancel their own elections. But I will stress there are still some that actually have not had these elections. It's not been a kind of national ban. And
no, there's only 30 million people voting.
Yeah, but not just in case people it's not their time to vote. It's councils have still cancelled.
Oh, have they?
Yeah. So it's not just been everything was fine.
But we're expecting at some point on Friday. Oh, do you reckon Russell Quirk's going to be the leader of Essex?
That'd be brilliant.
I actually think he might be. Well,
he deserves it. He'd be good on it.
He's the only Reform councillor on Essex County Council at the moment. That, in my book, and I don't know how it works in Reform, but that would make him the party leader.
Yeah, it would do. Yeah. That's how it works in every other party, but Reform, whether they've even got a policy on that, I don't know. This is also part of
I suspect what they'll have to do is have their first group meeting and have an election for leader, which I'm sure he'd win.
Oh, yeah.
Because he'll be the incumbent.
He used to be a councillor, so he would also have the kind of institutional knowledge about how
he was expelled from the Conservatives for being a right-winger.
But he's good. He's a conviction, he will be a good he's grown up there, and he wants to do it for the good of the country, not for the good of himself. But I mean, it's all looking good. What do they do next to consolidate on this reform? What do they do if they see, well, now we really are in the driving seat here? What do they do to consolidate?
Realistically, they've got to start talking about something else that's not small boats. Because you've now got to shift
actual policies,
and not just headlines, not just attention-grabbing things, not just building detention centres in green areas, because that stuff will start to put off other voters who may start to see reform as attractive, but they still see them as this protest movement. They've got to stop being the Tories had 14 years people. They've got to start being, we're going to do this when we get into power.
And who's going to do it? Is Kruger going to be the main guy in that sort of thing?
I will say they have started to pad out their kind of policy team and all this kind of stuff, and it is coming through. But I think it was on Thursday, Thursday last week, that one of the major things that people are voting on is actually the death of the high street. It's a major policy area for Reform voters. Reform don't have a policy on anything particular to do with this issue.
But this council vote, really, I would have thought most people, they're looking at their local areas, but really this is a national protest vote, isn't it? And that's why you're going to see big turnouts.
Which is actually going to not really, it will go in Reform's favour in terms of winning, but it's whether they could keep that level of anger going to the next general election if we end up going all the way.
But I think the Labour will arrange that.
Do me a favour, though. Right. I'm actually going to talk about Golders Green, an area that Ash doesn't live in but knows quite well.
I did live there.
Right.
Yeah. Of course.
Right, so I go to my local town, and what happened was, right, I've said this before, I know we're going to be local council geeks for a second, but when I was a kid, every Saturday we used to go out shopping, and we'd go, let's go to Warrington this week, Wigan this week, St Helens this week, Lee that week, or whatever. Right.
Glamorous.
Yeah, that's right. The high streets used to be different.
Yeah.
Right, and if you were, obviously Father Christmas gets the Christmas presents, but if you were to look for Christmas presents, you could go to different places and there'd be different items available, and mums and dads would be able to look round all year, though obviously Father Christmas does the final thing, as we all know. Then there was just this homogeneity that came in, where every high street was the same. I walked down Golders Green High Street to go and do a bit of work, and it struck me there were lots of different things down there. You know, it was
independent shop.
Exactly, it wasn't just a Next. In fact, there wasn't.
You get areas like that. Crouch End is like that, and areas that do. It's a sort of positive policy. They do that on. And it's really good.
I'd like to see that in more places.
Yeah, I have a theory, and I'll look it up in a moment. Actually, I'd like to know what the home ownership rate is in Golders Green compared to somewhere else, because my theory is that if you have a house, you are more invested in the area. Right. You want to see your local area nice. If the problem is if you rent, you don't really care about it. You don't put your own money into the upkeep of your house and how it looks. They
often say the reason why tower blocks, even though they were better than the slums, had no sense of community is because you didn't own the tower block. You owned your slum house.
Yes,
and you couldn't go outside because you know, and mix with all the other people because you were 4 floors up.
But also, home ownership tends to bring communities closer together because you recognise your neighbours. You actually, you might not get to know them, but you start to see the same people in the same places. The problem is when you rent, you move around so often that realistically you don't get to know anybody.
Remember Eric Ollerenshaw, when he was in charge of the city strategy for the Conservatives, he was, I think, vice chairman of the Conservative Party at the time. He said that one of the problems they had in the centre of Manchester with all of these flats was that people were very interested in what happened in the village in Hampshire they came from, but didn't care what happened in Manchester city centre for exactly that reason, Pete.
Yeah, no, the David Starkey quote kind of applies here of cut the ribbon, cut the apron strings. You've got to get involved in your local area, and this is why I always say that to really make a difference in this country, just get involved in a local group, because the small little changes actually start to make our community nicer. When it is nicer, you actually start to deter crime, because people care about it so much more. But home ownership, I do think, is the bigger driver here. The death of the high street, I find quite an interesting concept, because whilst you were talking about all those high streets we used to go to, they then built the Trafford Centre.
Yeah, exactly.
And that killed it.
Exactly.
But people love the Trafford Centre. People complain about the death of the high street, but still like.
Also, the high street with the internet is over for retailers. I mean, it's cafes and charity.
But what a lot of people did, what a lot of councils did in Greater Manchester was this. They put up parking charges. They owned a lot of the property. They'd put the rents up or whatever. If I was a local council and I owned all the properties in the town centre, I would think to myself, what sort of shops do we want? Screw the rent and screw the parking charges.
They kill off the independent shops with their. I mean, Theo Papita says this. He says you need a new model because Amazon have got massive warehouses. They should be paying it. It's a different model now, but yet still the small shops, like, they have to pay in all, like is.
Just to remind people that Harrods pays more in business rates than Amazon.
Yeah.
Now that is an extraordinary thought,
incredible,
because Harrods is one shop. Amazon delivers to every house in the country.
Yeah, it just shows the ridiculousness of the system, because nobody's bothered to change it. We tinkered at the edges again and again and again, but unfortunately it needs the wholesale reform. This is why, with a kind of an incoming council with a nice big majority, nice big mandate, can actually have the force to change this. But they've also got to have the political will to do it.
But I would turn around and I'd say, look, why would somebody want to come to the town centre? We have to get that in there. Now, quite often, a destination, I mean, a friend of mine, the local strip club in Windsor came up for its lease renewal.
Did you have to go and research it? Did you?
Oh, I've been there many times. I've been there many times.
Yeah, I love this. A friend of mine.
Yeah, no, let me tell you. What do you think we did?
I know.
When we needed to do a licensing inspection of the strip club, do you think we left it to the officers?
No.
Did we? Hell, we missioned in there, champagne everywhere. But on the serious note, my mate said, look, let's get rid of the strip club and let's put a cinema in instead, a proper legitimate cinema. Won't make any money, won't make as much money as the strip club, but people go to a cinema.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, and people walk there, and it creates some footfall.
You've also got to start parking charges is actually quite a big one.
Got to get rid of them.
Got to get rid of them. You've got to encourage people to come in, and you don't do that when you suddenly whack like 10, 12 quid like it is in some places,
bicycle
or even
lanes.
more.
I mean, the retail. I know East Finchley. They put the shops are moaning because now you can't just pull over and go in the shop.
Oh,
and
that's
it's
right.
killed off loads of their businesses.
But like I was saying about the Trafford Centre, what do they come along with? 7,000 or 8,000 free car parking spaces.
Yeah.
And they just go, come to the Trafford Centre.
Yeah.
Line number 2 is 7,000 free car parking spaces.
It's amazing.
Not even, we've got Selfridges. Not even it's got a food hall. Line number 2.
Yeah,
parking.
This is the thing that people always kind of want to. You've got to overcomplicate it. You don't have to. People do want to get out of the house. People don't actually really these days actually enjoy shopping online because of COVID. They actually want to go into places. But when councils don't actually have any real world experience and they're just literally boring bureaucrats, this is how towns die.
If you think about it, given the example of the Trafford Centre or Westfield or any of these, what have they actually done? They've basically gone, the councils across the country are so bad at running the town centres. Rather than buy the property in the town centres and rent all of them, we're just going to build our own town centre, right, in the middle of a field. Yeah. It's going to, and literally, what we're going to do is we're going to put in it everything that should be in a town centre, but it's going to have one thing that's different. It's not going to have a local council to stop it all working.
It's also one of the idea is you don't have to leave that place. You could spend from the morning to the evening. Yeah. You don't have to leave.
Don't have to run back for your parking charges.
Well, actually, in the what you were just saying, you do have to pay park. But Brent Cross, you don't have to pay park, and I think the one in you were just mentioning, I think
Westfield.
I think you have to pay quite. If you stay there all day, you end up with a big parking thing to pay.
I didn't know you had to pay at Westfield, but I was just going to say that just in terms of like shopping and eating, you could go.
It's a nice experience, and the weather as well. It's covered.
It's a day out.
Yeah.
It's a day out. Yeah, but also
we used to go, and people can laugh. On a Saturday, me, mum, and dad, and my 2 brothers would go for a day out to Wigan. Yeah, I'm not joking.
Well, you're from Leeds.
No, okay, it's okay. It's to wander around the shops.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's not that Wigan was great or St Helens was great or Warrington was great. It's that they had different shops.
Yeah. I mean,
that's all. It's not that they were marvellous.
Yeah, I still think that's a thing as well, to a degree. But like I said, a lot of it is now out of town shopping. It's not necessarily the massive places like Westfield or the Trafford Centre. It's the kind of just the kind of industrial estates that they've turned into little shopping centres.
Nice,
yeah, but then the thing is though, because they're on the outsides of the towns, nobody's going into they're not even getting to the actual town centre anymore. They're either been going like outside of it to these big places or the little ones that are on the just on the outskirts.
Somebody's been in touch to suggest that a place that look, to be fair, they're right. A place that does have some unusual independent venues and shops is Vauxhall.
There are a lot of districts in London that like I said,
and they've also said Winchester as well for different reasons.
Yeah.
But to be fair, look, if you were to say, do you want to go for a few drinks in Vauxhall? It would be different to going for a few drinks in, say, Wandsworth Town.
Definitely.
Which is only 5 minutes walk.
You know, this is why, like Soho, you know, and those kind of places, they're dying because a lot of the kind of those kind of venues are all shutting down because they can't afford to keep open.
And they've been sanitised by. It was Paul Raymond's daughter, wasn't it? I mean, there was Madame Jojo's, and they sort of ruined the seediness.
I went to Raymond's Review Bar.
Yeah.
Did you?
I actually went to Raymond's Review Bar. By the time I went to Raymond's Review Bar, it must have been 6 months from closure because I only moved down south in 1997.
Yeah, I'm just reading. There's a friend of mine is just tweeted saying he's at the county in Blackburn. It's reform after reform after reform.
Right.
They seem to be absolutely dominating.
This could actually be bigger than even those polls that now poll that you said.
Yeah, it's.
So are we saying now that basically the PALS battalions have turned up?
Yeah, realistically.
Basically, Northern England has come out to vote reform.
Yeah, sorry, they've just got a prediction for a London one.
This is interesting.
Yeah, so it's looking now that the Greens on 7 councils, Labour on 2 councils, Conservatives still have 5.
Do us a favour, read them out, just a matter of interest.
I know they're just the groupings that this particular one that I've got. They're not. Let me find the ones in the next break, and I'll bring it back to you. But it's looking relatively like the Greens have taken quite a hefty chunk of the Labour vote here in London, though that is not a surprise. And it will be interesting to see, is it on environmental issues or is it on Gaza?
I've got some reactions. Zach Polanski has predicted the Green Party will see a record-breaking result, making gains across the country. Keir Starmer thanked party activists after polls closing a set of elections widely seen as the biggest test for his premiership since the general election. Tory chairman Kevin Hollinrake acknowledged Thursday's local election had been difficult, but said his party had run an energetic and positive campaign. Polanski also said the news from the doorstep is that we will be taking seats from not just Labour but the Tories and Lib Dems too. Lib Dem leader Sir Ed Davey said voters were disappointed with Labour and appalled by Reform UK's popularity.
Pete, give me that London thing again. So are we saying that the Conservatives may have taken Westminster?
Again, it's not got individual ones.
But how many Conservatives?
So it says Conservatives, 5 councils.
Well, that would be Westminster.
Yeah.
That would be Wandsworth.
So Wandsworth would be a really
It's not Havering.
Yes, so Wandsworth, if you remember in 2024, the parliamentary seat was a real blow to the Conservatives.
Yes.
It was Margaret Thatcher's favourite constituency. It was always seen as the Tory kind of heartland. And the Labour
because it was the reforming council.
Yes, and this was, it really hit the Tory party hard, that one. If they've been able to take the council back, that is quite a big thing.
And Barnet, of course, where Thatcher had her seat and their Tory headquarters.
I'm just thinking the 5 Conservative councils, they won't be in the East, will they? Well, they'll be Bromley. Mind you, Bromley's in the East.
Hillingdon, it looks like Hillingdon, Harrow, Barnet, Kensington and Chelsea, Westminster.
Yes.
They seem to be the ones, which are the ones what we predicted. But
have you got a map?
Yeah, it's a rough one, and I'm trying to read it, but yes. The Greens seem to have taken, so we're looking at Harringay, Islington, Hackney, Lambeth, Southwark, Lewisham. So the ones that we would expect to go green have gone green.
And they've probably gone more green than Gaza.
Probably,
I mean, when you're talking about Gaza, that is your Burnleys, your Accringtons, your Blackburns. That's where that recent migrant Muslim vote is.
Yeah,
I suspect Harringay Haringey has voted Green because it's left-wing, not because they're bothered about Gaza. I'm not saying they're against the people of Gaza, but...
I'm looking at Stats for Lefties, which is talking about the Synod in Wales, saying Plaid Cymru have got 37 seats projected and Reform 34. So that's massive, isn't it?
That is, yeah.
That is.
I think we need to do a break now, don't we?
Yeah, let's do that, and we're going to have a look and come back with all.
Let's do all the front
more
pages
results and all the
back.
front pages back after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and this is probably one of the most important days in modern British politics, because it is the first time that Nigel Farage and Zach Polanski are being seriously tested in what might be a major realignment in British politics. Here's what we know so far. There are 136 councils up for election. There are 2 national parliaments in Wales and Scotland, a total of 30 million people able to go to the polls, so that is not everybody. 5,000 and something like 47 seats up for grabs, about 2,600 defended by Labour, about 1,400 defended by the Conservatives. And we think that Reform are likely to have won the election.
Yeah.
Do we think the Greens have come second in England?
It's looking that way.
Okay.
But, again, it's all about, they might get the top line number. Did people actually turn out to vote? Have they got the country? That's the test.
What's
here.
your feeling? I get the feeling they have.
I think they might have actually done it, and I think that I do. I'm going to say I do think that I would say that Reform have not definitely won it, but I will.
So just to remind you that based on the polling, now remember the difficulty in making this show, as with any election show, is that we have some results, we don't have other results. In fact, we have no results on Thursday night, but we have predictions. And just to be clear, the prediction on UK electoral calculus, which is the poll of polls, is saying that they're expecting that if there was an election today, the Conservatives would be on 112 seats, Labour would be on 78, Liberal Democrats would be on 61, Reform would be on 248, Greens on 66, SNP on 46, Plaid Cymru on 15. Wow. Now, the winning post is 326 officially, though it's lower in practice. And just to be clear, 326 is the winning post of the general election. Reform plus the Conservatives would be 360. I'm not saying that's what should happen. I'm just saying that I personally believe a Nigel Farage-dominated Conservative Reform coalition would probably be if I were to have a preference.
Look at Next Politics UK has predicted that the full local election result for all council wards: Reform 1,580, up 1,580, Lib Dems up 286 to 950, Labour down 1,597 to 941, Tories down 631 to 572, Greens up 344 to 103. So the big winner is Reform in this.
Yeah, I'd also like to point out I predicted 1,500. I should have put money on that. But I always say that, but then the thing is, when you work in campaigns and stuff, on the day of the election, your brain goes, everything you think is entirely wrong, and you doubt yourself. It's one of those things. It's just like, it's a great day, but a terrible day.
If all of these results are right, and Reform are now second in both not just second in Wales and Scotland, but have the second largest number of MSPs and AMs.
What's that?
Assembly
Scotland and
Wales. MSPs, members of Scottish Parliament and members of the Welsh Assembly, or whatever they call them nowadays. And you had 1,500 councillors. What would you be telling Nigel Farage to do next? So would you be saying this is a good night or a bad night? Because I suspect, Pete, would say it is an acceptable night for Farage rather than a good night.
I would, yes. So far, from the numbers that we've got, I would say it's a good showing. It's a good, solid win. It's not a barnstorming sweep.
Right. And why do you think that?
Because again, we don't have it's really difficult without the numbers, but my suspicion is that they have the scorecard number, they have the actual seat victory, but it's about the real test comes about 2 weeks later. Has Reform learned from the results? Because they might win, but have they learned how they could have done better? Because as we see, when we translate this to the general election, where the rules are very, very different and people vote in different ways, they've got to be able to carry this forward. They've got to keep the momentum going. That means that they've kind of got to stop the theatrics to a degree and really serious this thing.
Become real.
They've probably won in England and they've come second in Scotland and Wales. The theatrics have taken them a long way.
Yes. But they've captured that vote. It's now about moving to capture the other, to get the rest of the Tory vote, because it hasn't completely collapsed. They've had a kick.
But do they want it to completely collapse?
See, I don't think they do, and I'm with you on this. I think the plan has always been a Tory government.
If you want 300 senior parliamentary assistants, 300 junior parliamentary assistants, 30 SPADs and all this, you need the Conservatives.
Yes, you do.
If you are Reform.
They've got the machine. They've got
the numbers.
Yeah, they've also got the donor base. They've got the institutional memory. They've also, they know where the levers are to pull.
All right, Pete. Well, we are going to leave it now. If you are listening on Friday morning, I think you've got Mark Dolan, haven't you?
No, I think. Well, it was Carl this morning. I don't know. Is it going to be breakfast alarm clock Britain or is it going to be Mark Dolan? We'll find out after this. We'll be back tomorrow. Well, we're back now, actually. If you're not listening in the morning, we're live. But breaking news, quickly. 3 American destroyers. Looks like the ceasefire might be over in the Straits of Hormuz. Trump says great damage done to Iranian attackers in small boats after US Navy destroyers came under fire. So destroyers transit out of the Strait of Hormuz under fire, adding that the American destroyers were not damaged, but great damage was done to the Iranian attackers. Anyway, we'll be talking to carrying on with Pete. You're going to stay with us, Pete? Or have you got to go home?
I'm supposed to go going home, but we'll see you in the break.
Also, you join us.
I'll give you a lift.
Yeah, he'll give him a lift. 0344 499 1000. Tell us how you voted and what you think the outlook is. We've got Melanie, Matt, and Janice is back. Chris, Leo, Jane, Tim, and Leo again.
And particularly call us if you are at account or you have been to account or you've been out campaigning today.
We'll be back after the news.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
I'm going to get straight to the calls. This is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. Matt is in Cheshire. Matt, you're on Talk.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
I was a bit confused for a moment then.
It is.
Let's not forget, Labour tried to stop millions of people voting in these elections as well.
Well, Labour and the Conservatives together.
Yeah, about 8 million people.
And let's not forget, it's not just about the cost of living and energy bills. It's about hotels, HMOs, traitorism and treachery. And tonight is the first night of Labour's death in Greater Manchester for the first time in my lifetime.
And what do you think will happen? Do you think it will be Green and Reform? I mean, look, I'm from Wigan Borough. I'm from Lee. I think we believe that Reform will win the election in Lee. Win the election in Wigan, but there's only a third of the seats up, so they won't take the council. But we're firm that Reform has got Wigan, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in Tameside.
Tameside. But Reform will walk Tameside, won't they?
It's all about the population, isn't it? We saw with Gorton and Denton, you know, it makes a big difference on who's living there.
So actually, if we're right in saying Denton, which was the little bit, is actually in Tameside, isn't it? Whereas Gorton is in the city centre.
That's right, and I think Gorton was 55,000 and Denton's only 25,000.
I was surprised, I have to say. When I went to Denton, I thought it was a lovely place. Now, look, I'm not looking at it through rose-tinted glasses. It's a working-class community. But it did have... I know it sounds really stupid, but we're really used to saying that British towns are no longer British. Denton did feel very British.
That's exactly... well, I'm in Staley Bridge. You probably know Staley Bridge.
Staley Bridge Celtic.
Staley Vegas, yeah.
Yeah. Staley Bridge is the same as it was when I was born, give or take a few differences. So I want it to stay that way, and I wanted Ashton to stay that way. And once Labour are out, I don't think we'll ever see them again in my lifetime.
No, and Rayner, despite the fact, look, there's a lot of things about Rayner that's going to be quite appealing to voters in Tameside, but she'll still lose if she runs again, won't she?
Yeah, she'll take that. Is it in Brighton?
Yeah.
I think she'll take that seat.
I agree with
Brighton instead.
I agree with that.
Yeah, she'll lose in her own seat.
And actually, it's amazing because, to be fair, if you were to look at the sort of person that might win a seat in Manchester, Rayner, with all of her Raynerism, actually, I think would be one of the more popular candidates.
I mean, if you look at what Starmer's done all over the country, he's basically spit in everyone's faces for 2 years.
I mean, everyone hates... Well, not everyone, but most people hate him, and that's translated across to the Labour Party, hasn't it?
The council, the behaviour of councils, Labour councils, the conceit and the arrogance of not having to do anything has been building up for decades.
Yeah.
Starmer is the cherry on top of that, and he's basically going to cause the entire Labour Party to collapse, and we'll never see them again.
I just want to ask you. I always make this point. You are a caller, not a contributor. Therefore, you don't have to answer any of my questions. But obviously, Tameside, only a third of the seats were up, just in the same way as Wigan. So I don't think a Reform can win. Which way did you vote today, and why? Or yesterday?
I didn't vote at all.
Why not?
Because
what?
I was going to vote. I was going to run for Reform, and they dumped me for somebody else.
Oh, that is very, very hurtful. Like our mate Gilbert.
I am going to run next year instead.
Why did they drop you? Was there any reason?
They told me I didn't have a social media presence, but I have stopped an HMO on my road. I get stuff done in my community.
It's really funny what my dad said about what they did with candidate selection in Wigan. They just didn't have time for a democratic process, so they just picked whoever they thought should do it and imposed them. I don't think that's the stupidest idea in the world, but it's not sustainable long term.
Are you going to stay with Reform, though, after this disappointment?
No, I cancelled my membership about 2 weeks later. I'm either going to join Restore or run as an independent.
Interesting. Well, thanks for your call, Matt.
Well, that's it. That's fascinating, and I have to say we've heard a few of those examples. All right, Corinne in Romford. Come on, the London Borough of Havering.
Isn't that Essex as well? Is it?
No, it's Greater London officially. It's historically Essex,
it used to
but
be,
it's Greater London Borough of Havering. Corinne, what do you reckon?
Right, yes, I'll be honest, I'm in Hold Hill and I've sat at the polling station today representing Reform.
Right.
And I absolutely believe that Reform are going to storm it.
Was there a big turnout, massive turnout?
Yeah, well, it was flowing. I was there from 12 till 4.
Yeah.
And it was flowing all the time. Everyone I met, 'cause I'm local, they was all the people I know. Just to remind everyone that the popular local MP Andrew Rosendale, who is the MP for Romford, a bit of Romford's in Hornchurch, but it doesn't really matter, and that's where she's talking about. But he defected from the Conservatives to Reform. Big friend of Margaret Thatcher. He was the only seat that William Hague took in 2001, so it was only briefly Labour from 1997 to 2001. So Havering is a pretty solid Conservative area, but I think we're expecting a wipeout of the Conservatives, aren't we? Oh, well, yeah, I believe so. And then all my friends and everyone I've spoke to locally, they're all for Reform.
Yeah.
In my area, you know, so I believe, yeah.
Are you going to run yourself as a councillor or anything like that?
Well, you do know me, you two. I've met your Tristan friend.
You've met us about?
To Tristan from Southend.
Oh, you were the person that brought Tristan, did you?
Yeah,
all right, yeah, I remember you.
Yeah, remember, yeah.
Yeah.
So
where's Tristan been? He hasn't called in for a while.
I know, yeah. He's just got a new home, I believe, yesterday. So
doesn't mean he can't call us. Very hurtful.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, because I'm disabled, I was thinking of running, but I've got surgery going to come up, big surgery on my lungs. So what I do...
You help them out.
I help the Reform Party with what I can do, you know, so... I was up there at the polling station.
Well, that's what we need. We need people getting involved in their politics, don't we? Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I've sat here and it's just been driving me mad.
So explain to me. I'm looking at Havering Council, 25 Havering Residents Associations. Presumably they're Conservatives that have fallen out with the Conservative Party. 16 Conservatives, 8 Labour. Harold Wood Hill Park Residents Association 3, Independent Residents 2, Reform is 1. I'm suggesting Havering Residents Association sound like right-wing independents, former Conservatives that have broken away. So make that probably 30, 40, 41 current or former Conservatives defending out of 57. Pretty big.
It was a big Tory area. You got a lot of your sort of blue-collar Tories, haven't you, around that area?
Yeah, it was all very much...
The working class Tory.
The working class...
Loads of money!
The last however many, we've been Labour in Howard Hill. In Gould and Eaton. So, and I think so, the party, it was the Havering Residents Association, as was a part of the was running it, and I think there was a bit of Labour influence there as well. So, I mean,
I think in fact,
don't know particularly they've done a good job. Really.
I mean, the reality is the Havering Residents Association are not that important to this. I think they're former Conservatives, and so does Perplexity AI.
Anyway, thanks, Corinne. Let's go to Steve in Glasgow. Who wants to talk about who he voted for? Who did you vote for, Steve?
Reform.
Right, OK, they've done very well in Scotland, the word on the street is.
For the first time ever in my life, after 45 years of voting, I didn't vote for the Scottish National Party. I'm angry at the way things are going. Well, you know this to happen. Our country's been invaded with Middle Eastern people that look at you with disdain, and they're walking about with Palestinian T-shirts.
Yeah, I mean, not just that. I mean, look at the leader before with the what's her name with the Winnebago and all that. I mean, it was outrageous. And Scotland, what's happened to it? Had a very had the best education system. They got rid of the drugs. Got rid of the stabbing problem. It's all come tumbling back because they're just concentrated on this ridiculous policy.
Because they've got too many left-wing zealots. I've spoken to some of them down in the town. See, when you get an argument with some, you can see it like in YouTube and Facebook. Their faces change, and you can see the evilness in them. I believe all them who walk about the Palestinian Hamas sort of stuff, right? I believe they would happily throw the whole lot of us in a concentration camp if they managed to take all the country.
I mean, what makes me sad is when you say there's all these Middle Eastern people coming over. They're mostly not Middle Eastern people. The people who literally believe that there is a global intifada and it is the duty of every Muslim to fight it wherever they're from.
That's what I'm saying, and it's the same way that the African people here, not them all, obviously. I'm talking about the ones from war-torn countries like Somalia.
Yeah.
They walk about, some of these people look dangerous, not right to eat, but not all there. They look at you as if you're nothing even when you say hello. And all they do is talk in African language when buses loud, you know.
How many people, though? How many people? I mean, look, when they used to call them the Tartan Tories, the SNP, I understand that because there's always been a strain within the SNP who are genuine patriots, right, for Scotland. I mean, understandably so. I mean, the Nicola Sturgeon type SNP just hate the English and love socialism. But actually, there's always been how many of the...
I don't believe that. Because Alex Salmond was always... I regard my argument, we've been an nationalist before, was not with the English people. It's just about the Westminster government.
So you wanted an independent Scotland, but you've changed your mind now and you want to stick with the UK, is that what you're saying?
Yes, but control of Scotland's finances and our parliament, but no with left-wingers and no with foreign people trying to impose their own.
But one of the problem, I will say something in defence of an independent Scotland. I genuinely think that if Scotland had to stand on its own 2 feet, it wouldn't be irresponsible enough to elect the nutters it's elected recently.
That's what I'm saying. And who is it? Why did they not use the Royal Navy to stop them coming on at the channel?
Well, the Royal Navy's helping them.
What?
The Royal Navy's helping the invaders.
Bringing them in, yeah.
Well, it's the first invasion in history where our own military's helping.
Are they going to wait to one of them? Do you know how that man attacked? There was 2 men stabbed in England last week.
Yeah, but that's an ongoing case. We've got to be careful. But what's your point about?
But what we're going to do, we're going to wait till somebody breaks into a children's school and stabs and knives. These people are capable of doing that.
There was some kids in Golders Green. The story came out, happened a few weeks ago. A car went onto the pavement and tried to run them down. So it's happening a lot.
But if that happens, what we will do is sing "Don't Look Back in Anger."
But that's not going to work anymore, is it?
Well, that's what they're going to try.
That's what they will try, yeah, because they've got no other way.
I believe there was civil unrest. Scottish people are getting angry about it.
And what was said when you went out and about, and look, you're a caller rather than a pundit, so I appreciate that. But when you were in the pub or whatever talking to your mates, what were they saying about what needs to change in Scotland?
They want rid of them.
You what?
Yeah, they want rid of them.
Oh, rid of them.
Yeah, they want them out.
Yeah.
And they're building new schemes here, and already in my area within the last 8 or 10 years, everywhere you look, it's Albanian, Romanian.
So are you feeling positive after tonight's, after the feeling of what's happening tonight? You feeling more positive, Stephen?
I'll give Nigel Farage a chance, and I like his policies.
Yeah.
I like Robert Lowe as well.
Yes.
I think he's the best politician in Britain today. But I looked at his party wasn't standing here, but Farage's was.
Right, okay, that's interesting. Thank you very much, Stephen. Right, we've got to take a little breaky. 0344 499. What was that, Adam?
Let me just read this result from Chorley East council election. This is crazy. Reform on 39, up 39. Labour on 30, down 36. And the rest are irrelevant. So basically what's happened is there was a Labour massacre previously with 70% of the vote and 40% of that Sorry, 40% of the voters switched to Reform. Just so those numbers again, Reform are up 39.7 to 39.7. Labour on 34.9, down 36.
And next is Greens, but that's miles away. Anyway, 034449991,000 looks like a great night for Reform. It's Andre and Ash at Andre JP Walker at Virtual Ash. We'll be back after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk. This is the Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. We're going through all of the results. There aren't many of them at the moment, but that result in Chorley East is absolutely unbelievable. Reform up 39.7 from 0. Labour down 36.1. Unbelievable. OK, let's go to Tim. Oh, by the way, before I say this, if you were out campaigning today, we'd love to hear from you. 0344 499 1000. If you voted a different party for the first time, perhaps you're a Green voter for the first time. 0344 499 1000. Tim is in Durham. Tim, you're on Talk.
Hello.
Hi, Tim.
Hello. About the vote today.
Yep.
The whole thing is that I've not got to vote today because I've got another few years before my next vote is. But in the last elections, Labour promised on their mandate they were going to do X, Y and Z. And they haven't done it. They've backtracked on so many things. Even though they have that much of a majority, it should have just went through.
Yeah, they just lied on the manifesto.
Well, how else could you put it?
Well, there is no other way to put it, is there? I think there should be a law. You know, if you lie to Parliament, you're in trouble. If you lie to the electorate in your manifesto, we should have a way of recalling it and having another forcing them out. I think they do in some states.
Well, I'll tell you what you could do. If you put it in your manifesto, the House of Lords will automatically vote it through. If you specifically rule it out in your manifesto, the House of Lords should automatically vote it down. I reckon that's fair. By the way, just been in touch with Russell Quirk. He is the leader of Reform on Essex County Council. He's being very coy, so I won't say a source close to Essex Reform. He's being very coy, but he's saying results in about 2 in the morning.
So Russell could be the potential leader.
I think Russell will be the leader.
And he'd be a great leader, I think. So, Tim, what's the worst thing that has Labour have done that's really annoyed you? I mean, there's so many things to choose from, but what's the thing that most riles you?
The English culture.
Yeah.
They've got rid of...
The death of the country.
It's the death of the country.
And not just English, it's happening in, well, Scotland, it's happening in Northern Ireland, it's happening, well, pretty much everywhere.
Yes. And one of the main things is the corruption throughout the civil service, because none of the departments speak to each other.
And they don't even go to work anymore.
Do you get upset the way I do that if somebody fails in their job, it's just, oh, well, they tried the hardest, never mind. Yeah. I don't like that culture.
Yes, exactly. If you failed in your job, doesn't matter whether you're at the bottom as a shop floor worker or the top manager, CEO, you should be sacked and you should not get any benefits.
Well, you should resign.
I agree. Like that's Paul Venels.
You shouldn't resign.
Oh, right, I see what you mean.
Resign. You should be sacked.
Paul Venels. What we should.
Shop floor worker would get sacked.
Yeah. Paul Venels from the post office. We should have taken her pension to pay off the sub postmasters. Now I know it wouldn't have covered many of them, but I think she should pay first before the taxpayer.
Of course it should. That's all gone quiet as well, hasn't it?
That's because we're paying.
Yeah, it's all gone out there public.
That happens all the time, but it's even worse in the civil service because most of them have non-disclosure.
Yeah,
that's right.
So you don't even know.
And what happens is I
don't understand how my taxes paying for somebody and they can't tell me how much they've paid.
Yeah.
Well, it happens with NHS. Happens with NHS negligence all the time. All the time.
Exactly. So, if you joined all the civil servants together, say the NHS, we've got the NHS, and we've got, instead of having all these different amounts of things, you could have NHS do counties, not to departments, not to here, there, and everywhere, to counties. So everything from that county has to be put through one service. Then benefits need to be joined to the NHS because most people who's on benefits are on the sick.
Thanks, Tim. Let's go to Janice in Wakefield, West Yorkshire. Hi, Janice.
Hello. Good evening.
Hi.
Good morning.
What do you want to say about the elections?
Well, I went to the election this afternoon. I put my vote in. And when I got there, I was handed a really, really long voting card. It was really long. And anyway, he said to me, you can have 3 votes.
Really?
I said, 3 votes? He said, yes, you can vote for 3 people. Anyway, I went to the booth and picked up the pencil and I looked at it. And it was so weird. Labour had got 3 candidates. Greens had got 3 candidates. Reform had got 1.
Yeah.
And everybody else had got 1. And I thought, well, how can that be fair?
Oh, OK. Let me just explain what's happened here.
I wish somebody would explain it, because it came to try to explain it.
Yeah. I can explain it. I can explain it really easily. What's happened is, in your local authority, your seat has been deemed to be a safe seat for the political left. So what's happened is they've given you the ability to vote for reform, right? And indeed the Conservatives and whatever. But the reason that Labour have stood 3 and the Greens have stood 3 is because they're expecting one of those parties to win. The reason that Reform have only stood 1 is they're expecting to lose badly and they didn't want to waste lots of candidates and lots of money on the election.
So what's your view, Janice? Have Reform done better than they would have thought?
Well, it sounds pretty good, yeah. I did vote for Reform. I do like Rupert Lowe as well, and his party always, it's quite interesting.
And what about your friends in the area? Are they the same as you? Are they voting for Reform? Your friends in the local area?
Do, yeah. Yes, most of the family, I think, by now. Yes, we've all had enough of what's going on. We don't like a lot of things that are happening, and we don't think we're being treated very fairly as a nation. No. We're very patriotic in our family, and we always have been.
Do you think that's the big thing, Nick, the patriotism, like our last caller was saying, in the death of English culture and the death of other cultures? Do you think that's the big thing that people have been energised with?
Well, I've heard people say of different, backgrounds that we're no longer a Christian country and blah.
And flying the flag, actually arresting people for putting up the Union flag and the St George flag, that annoys a lot of people.
They're presuming we're no longer. I know we probably aren't churchgoers, but we respect the Church of England because we go. We get married, we get christened, we get everything. Our laws are all based on the Church of England.
They are.
And
Janice, just to be clear, was it made clear that you've got up to 3 votes?
Yes.
Okay, so did you vote 3 times or just once?
No, just once.
Oh, okay, fine. You did. Look, it's not for me to tell you which way to vote, but you did the right thing. If that one Reform person wins in your area, more Reform people will run next time.
Good.
But let me just ask you, and as I always say, I say this to every single person that calls in, you are a caller, not a contributor, so you don't have to answer the questions that Asher and I give you. What is your voting past? What did you, have you previously voted for another political party?
Well, I used to vote for Liberal Democrats because I'm a bit middle of the road, but
okay.
And I haven't really, you know, and I mean, I'm a history student, so I know all about the suffragettes, and it's my duty to vote. It's our duty to vote if we can.
So the Liberal,
I'm not a young woman anymore, but I just I want to make sure, as long as I'm on this earth, that I'm going to vote for the right candidate.
So it's interesting, though, isn't it, that we have somebody from the SNP who's now voting Reform, somebody from the Liberal Democrats that's now voting Reform. One would have assumed that it was only, well, we've always been told that it's only the Conservatives that ever switch over to Reform. But actually, this idea of defending, in your case, the liberalism of Britain, and in the other guy's case, was his name Trevor, I forget, defending Scotland's culture is a major thing.
It's patriotism that sort of seems the main headline.
Yeah, it's like an insult to us. I just think, how dare you presume we're not Christian? You know, they're just presuming. They don't know.
Well, and what they say about the British flag and the English flag, you're right. You're exactly right, Janice. Let's go quickly to Cindy in Michigan. Who did you vote for, Cindy? I didn't know we had the vote in Michigan.
Right. I had an absentee ballot is what I had.
Excellent.
Or as we prefer to call it, postal vote.
Yeah, I wish. I would have voted Reform for sure.
Well, so okay, as an outsider, as a foreigner, even though Americans are not really that foreign, right? Same tribe, different country. But what were your impressions of the election, and what the big issues do you think were? Or do you think it's just now, is it just about how crap Keir Starmer is? Or do you think there are other issues at play?
I think oh gosh, there's so many, you know, like there's things going on in the country.
Hey, by the way, Cindy, have you got your TV or radio on? It's a bit noisy.
Is that your husband chatting, telling you what to say in the background?
I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to sort out the noise with Cindy, and then we're going to come back to her after the break.
Let's do it.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Somebody's just texted in to say, tell David Bull to get off his phone while he's on the TV. He's on the BBC. But just to be clear to you, the reason we're on our phones on election night is because we are communicating with people and looking at various results and whatever. So forgive us, but you will see people looking at various screens. OK, let's go back to Cindy. And the question I was asking Cindy before the break was, is this just about the competence of Keir Starmer, or are there more important or other issues that were at play in this election, in your perspective as somebody from outside the UK?
There's just so much going on right now in your country that your country is all over the place. So there's a lot of different issues going on. For instance, like some schools, preschools are trying to introduce calling the police on
kids,
toddlers if they are racist. I mean, there's lots of little issues like that going on, and I don't know who would sort those things out. Like, would it be the council?
It wouldn't be the councils, but one of the things that's inevitable, and this is true in Britain and it's true of America, no matter how much in the midterms, you're voting for a congressman and not the president, the popularity of the president will affect it, won't they?
Cindy, answer the question.
Yeah.
I mean, even in okay, let's go further. If I was to vote for my local in America, the local mayoral election in a city, I'm going to vote Democrat if the Democrats are doing well, and Republican if the Republicans are doing well, in a higher number than I would have done if they were doing badly.
No, not necessarily.
Okay, go on.
No, well, for me, I would vote my conscience. Like, no matter if they were good, if the party were doing good or bad, because I'm a believer that every vote counts. That's what I think. And so it would just depend on the person.
I mean, one of the big problems we've got in this country is that we've got such a centralised system. Actually, whichever way you vote in the local elections, very little will be different as a result, and that's incredibly frustrating.
But what would you vote if you liked a Democrat guy? Would you vote him at this moment, because you're actually strengthening the National Democrats if you do that? I mean,
if I don't think it would ever happen that I would like a Democrat, but if I did, I would vote for that Democrat.
But look what they've done, the Democrats. Look at California, people are getting out. Look at New York, people are getting out.
But she's saying she'd never vote for them.
Exactly. I mean,
it would never happen.
It never happen.
My concern. So I am not an American. I don't vote in America. But it seems to me that if we are talking about which party is better providing the leader of the free world, I think the Republicans are far and away have produced the better ones. If you look at
100%,
if you look at George Bush Jr. compared to Joe Biden or Barack Obama or whatever, you look at Trump and Reagan and all these people. My view is, unfortunately, the Democrats are soft on international terrorism. Unfortunately.
Yeah, they are. Just as Labor is,
without a doubt.
Labor and Democrats have
the problem is with these people, they think you can negotiate with the bad guys and the bad guys will become good.
They're not just weak on them, they represent them, don't they? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. All right, Cindy, thank you so much. Let's go to Jane in Marbella. Jane, you're on Talk.
Hi.
Buenas noches.
Are you able to vote?
Buenas noches. Only in a general, not local.
Yes. And that's because you've been away for over 10 years?
No, it is ad infinitum now.
Oh, right, okay.
It used to be 15 and it's been extended ad infinitum.
Oh, right, okay.
Yes.
However, I can vote in Spain in the local but not general.
Right, okay, that's interesting. So you can do your local council in Spain.
Yeah. However, I am I am a non-religious Jew.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not an anti-Semite, but I'm sick of hearing about this Starmer wife being Jewish. She is not. Her father is Jewish, and you go by the mother's line, not the father.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you're right. She's Reform Jewish.
No, I'm right.
She's Reform Jewish, so, she would say...
Yeah, she's not Jewish. Lewis.
Well, in the mainstream Jewish, yeah, you're correct, but I think in she was be reformed. She could convert to
yeah,
full
but
Jewish.
but isn't the key thing that she considers herself to be Jewish, and therefore people will respond? No, hang on. The point is, from a political standpoint, the fact that she considers herself Jewish and responds in that way is what's important. What she is from a religious point of view is of no interest.
No, let's be quite blunt about this. I remember when Starmer was aiming to be Prime Minister, he kept talking about his Jewish father-in-law and Jewish wife and going to Friday night dinner. This was to get the Jewish vote.
All right, fair enough.
She is not Jewish.
Yeah, well, she's reformed Jewish, but not like the mainstream Jewish. You know what I mean?
Come on,
Well, no, but you're looking at it from the Jewish perspective. Yeah, she's not.
But it doesn't. But you've got to remember something, Jane. It doesn't matter to me, and the reason it doesn't matter to me is because what is important is if you consider yourself to be Jewish, or consider yourself to be a Zionist, or consider yourself to be a conservative, or any of those things. That's what is significant. The views of the religion are not what's important. It may matter to you. It doesn't matter to me.
And she has always been involved in the, the weddings and all the other things, the Jewish, the family as well. She's...
All right, if your husband is Jewish and he takes you to a wedding, you're Jewish as his partner.
No, I agree with you, Jane.
Obama was fighting to be leader. All he spoke about was his father-in-law.
Yeah, Bernard.
And that was to get the Jewish vote.
Yeah, but the Jewish vote, in some respects, annoys me, not insofar as there is a Jewish vote. But I think any Jew that votes for Labour is mad.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you.
And by the way, Jane, as has been pointed out in my ear in the gallery, the reason he continually said that was because Corbyn had been so awful to the Jewish community that he needed to say something to get them back on track.
That is right. And he thought, this way I'll get the Jewish vote.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's not been successful. I mean, he's bloody useless as a Prime Minister.
He is bloody useless. All right, Jane, thanks so much. Look, I just want to make a big plug for calls because we've got 2 slots available and loads of people not picking up. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call. We're just going to recap just for a second on what's happened so far tonight, and it's not a vast amount. So, 5,047 seats up for grabs. 30 million of you voted. There's also elections to the Synod, which is the Welsh Assembly or Welsh Parliament, as we used to call it, and the Scottish Parliament. We think, if exit polls are right, that the Scottish National Party continues to be the government of Scotland. Anis Sarwar's last-minute attempt to get people to stick with the Conservative, to stick with Labour or to vote Labour has failed. But the big story is that we think that Mark Drakeford has lost in Wales and Plaid Cymru have won, but Reform are in second place. Reform in second place in Scotland as well. In terms of England, what's really important to understand is that whilst there are 136 English local councils up for election, many of them, like in Greater Manchester, are actually only voting for a third of the councillors. So in Tameside and in Wigan, as an example, because they've come up on tonight's show, there's expected to be a complete wipeout of the Labour councillors who are running for election. But only a third of them are running for election. I think it's about 17 in Wigan and 17 in Tameside. And so we've got to put a caveat on that what you may not see tomorrow is lots of councils turning to Reform because of the fact that there simply were not enough seats up. Really interesting to hear about the election in Essex. It's an all-out election. And just to be clear, our old friend Russell Quirk is the leader of Reform in Essex. They've had an enormously high turnout, and Essex County Council is going to be abolished. Remember, they were one of the elections that the Labour and Conservative Party wanted not to happen. but it is happening, and these are the people that are going to negotiate the constitutional future for the people of Essex, and we expect it to be Russell Quirk. That result coming in at about 2 in the morning. We've got 19 minutes of this show left, so you haven't got long to talk about the election results as they come in. 0344 499 1000. Let's go to Kevin in Basingstoke, who always has a good alternative view. Kevin, you're on talk.
Yeah, I think I'd probably be the only person that's phoned in that I voted Green.
Well, I think you're right.
Why?
I voted independent for my local one, but then there was another one and I voted Green. I normally vote Labour.
Is it Zach Polanski that convinced you?
Well, I do like what Zach's saying, but I don't.
Really?
I don't like the way Labour's gone too.
But you are. But I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what we're going to do, Kevin, because you are somebody who phones up and really helps us out with this.
Yeah.
Right. Look, you've gone from Labour to the Greens. The floor is yours for a couple of minutes. Explain to me.
Should we take a little breaky before? Let's throw ahead, and we can hear why someone voted Green.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, one of the results has come in. Labour has held Halton Council. We think that's the first result. Only 16 of the 54 seats were being contested. Reform have gained 1 seat. We believe that Labour have held Chorley Council as well, even though there was that astonishing result in the Chorley East Ward. Once again, only around a third of the seats up. That's a total of 14. But whilst we get those results, let's get Kevin to answer the question, why move from Labour to Reform? Kevin, the floor is yours.
To Green.
Labour to Green. The floor is yours, Kevin.
Well, I moved to Green because Labour have gone too far to the right. The Conservatives did it. They went too far to the right to compete with Reform, and Labour have done the same thing. And I don't like Reform. I don't want to vote a party that's trying to copy Reform. So that's why I didn't vote for them this time round. But if there was an election tomorrow, you said, Reform would win. But the thing is, you've got to think of is tactical voting, because Nigel Farage is popular, but you know he gets about 25 to 30% of the vote. But a lot of people don't like. A lot of people do like him, and there's a lot of people that actually don't like him and would, you know, tactical voting.
Yeah, but on the other hand, the same way Starmer won, there's a lot of people who hate Starmer and would vote for Nigel Farage just as a sort of protest because he's the realistic opposition, isn't he?
Well, yeah, I mean, it works both ways, but you know, people do vote tactically, but so yeah, I don't like the way that, you know, they keep going on about immigration and asylum seekers and.
Well, you want fully open borders, don't you? If you're a Green voter,
I don't want fully open.
Well, that's what the Greens want, and legalise all drugs.
No, they don't want to legalise drugs. You know they don't.
I thought they did. I thought
they did.
Yeah, I thought that was.
No, they want to decriminalise it, which is.
By the way, just to be clear, the images for those of you watching on your screens are of the count at Westminster City Council, where the Conservatives are expected to retake control from Labour. Sorry, Kevin, continue.
Yeah, you know, you had one guy called Steve on there, and he was talking about civil servants, you know, saying there was too many and they get paid too much and you can't get rid of them. Do you remember him from Scotland?
Yeah.
But because of Brexit, we had to employ an extra 140,000 more civil servants.
We didn't need to do that.
Well, no, but we used to. When we was in the EU, we never used to have to negotiate with them because we was all a part of one, weren't we?
But what we wanted to do, we wanted Brexit to be about cutting the level of bureaucracy. The problem is we didn't cut the bureaucracy, so we lost the benefits of being a member of the EU without enjoying the benefits of being able to cut all the bureaucracy.
Brexit
so
in name only.
We got the worst of both worlds.
Yeah.
What do you mean by bureaucracy?
Well, we didn't get out. We didn't really leave Europe. I mean, look, now we're basically in Europe in a worse position where we don't have any choice. It's obvious, you know.
Anyway, we can't have a Europe debate. Kevin, we're going to get rid of you, and we're going to introduce now one of my friends who's been out campaigning today, who is Phil Bicknell. He is the leader of the Windsor Conservatives. Now, just to be clear, if you're in Berkshire and Buckinghamshire, you were not voting yesterday, but part of the Windsor constituency covers Englefield Green, which is a Surrey election. Labour had attempted to cancel the elections in Surrey, but the Windsor Conservatives were out and about in Englefield Green. Phil, just tell us what it was like on the doorstep.
Very favourable, I've got to say. I mean, we're very confident. We think that we're going to hold this. We say hold. It's a new ward. I mean, it's 9,300 potential voters from about 6,200. So it's a double-sized ward, really, but I think that just follows the county.
So Phil, just to be clear, what is this Surrey County Council? How does it work?
This is West. This will be West.
Oh, so they've got their new councils, have they, in Surrey?
They've got West and East Surrey.
I see.
Huge area. It's the whole of Surrey, but it's split it in half. And I'm not absolutely up to speed with how many it is, but it's hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
I mean,
so you were a councillor, weren't you, Phil?
So just to be clear to everyone what Phil's talking about, just so we all understand, the changes that are happening across the country have happened in Surrey. That means that their district and county councils have gone, and instead they've now got two big unitaries, East Surrey and West Surrey, and Phil is electing 9,000 voters in one ward. Is big, Phil.
Yeah, it is big, and of course it's a very abstract ward in terms of the sort of people that live there. It's very mixed in terms of where people come from. There's quite a lot of people come from all over the world. There's a big percentage come from all over the world. So
is that because of the Royal Holloway College, my old university?
Absolutely. Yes, it's Englefield Green with Virginia Water.
And one thing that's interesting, Virginia Water, of course, being one of the richest places on earth, just a matter of interest that obviously, look, you are one of the people or one of the areas where people are not expecting reform to make a major inroad, simply because, as an example, Windsor is a safe Conservative seat, but it did vote to remain in the European Union, admittedly by a small amount. If people are going to stick with the Conservatives, they will stick with the Conservatives in places like Windsor. Is that the experience that you've had on the ground?
To a great extent. I mean, Kemi has got a tough job, and she's doing in my opinion, she's doing a brilliant job. She's going back to basics. She's going back to Thatcherite policies, Thatcherite things to say and things to do. We want work, people who want to work. We want them to succeed. And if you can't work, I mean, the old days of people saying, the Tory nasty party and all that, it's all a load of nonsense. If you can't work, we'll look after you. That's the message. However, those that can work, we expect you to go to work, and we want you to excel. We want you to do. But
one of the big problems that you're going to have is this: the reason the Conservatives are loved in your area, or have been historically loved in your area, is because of competence. The council that you were deputy leader of cut council tax, I think, cumulatively by 25%, whilst having the highest approval ratings in history. Surrey County Council was similarly incredibly highly rated, and obviously the members of Parliament in the area were pretty well respected, certainly Jack Rankin. But in recent years, the national government has been seen to let you down. How much of a problem has that been?
It's been a big problem. They've taken £30 million from RBWM. But of course, the reality is that we have to set a budget. Every council has to set a budget. And if you balance that budget and you don't need to increase the council tax, why the flaming hell should you increase it? The whole point of doing a budget is to make it work, to make the
yeah, but what I meant was, sorry, I'm not talking about the current national government having a go. What about people like Rishi Sunak? I mean, he didn't play well in Windsor at all, did he?
But he talked a lot of sense. A lot of what he said has come true from the national side of things, and Reform, who are the other right-wing party, they talk a great game. Farage is a nice guy, but at the end of the day, they're not going to be able to fix anything unless you go back to basics. You've got to get back to basics and balance the books.
But they've got their people, their experienced people to do that, haven't they, Phil?
Well, the Tories have got the people to do it.
Yeah, but a lot of them have defected to Reform. They're actually getting proper people now.
But one of the big problems is, I remember, Phil and I have known each other for absolutely decades.
Yeah, Phil's been in a few times.
Of
Good
course.
old Phil.
Hope to get him back in.
Yeah. I haven't been invited. In fact.
Yeah, well, we're inviting you again, man.
But one of the problems I would suggest in 2010, when David Cameron came in, we didn't realise the damage that Tony Blair had done to the Constitution.
Yeah.
And even if David Cameron had been able to persuade Nick Clegg to repair the damage, which I don't think he could have done, we didn't realise at the time. My argument with the Conservatives now is, I think the trouble was that the Conservatives didn't really run the country because the Blair reforms, and by the time the Conservatives realised, it was too late.
It's like he poured the concrete, like Miliband did on the fracking tubes. He poured concrete in the British Constitution, Tony Blair, so they couldn't...
I think that's a fair comment, but... When we were run by 40 years of the EU being in the EU, being in the community, at the end of the day, going to get lazy. Your machinery is going to rust up. It's going to get seized up.
Yeah, that's why they wanted to go back. That's why they want to go back. They can shift the blame.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so Phil, we're going to have to leave it there. But just to be clear, when is your result coming through? Are you counting tonight or are you counting tomorrow?
Count at 9 o'clock in the morning. I suspect that we're going to know somewhere around about 3 or 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
And that's an all-out for Surrey West.
Yes, West Surrey, all out, but it's a brand new thing. So there's a year's transition from the council.
Oh, I see. So just to be clear, Surrey County Council will continue, Runnymede Borough Council will continue. You're electing the shadow authority who will take power in a year's time.
Correct.
Okay.
Thanks, Phil. We'll get you in. We're going to get you in very soon. Let's go to our friend Yasmin the Witch. Hi, Yasmin. Did you predict all this through your crystal ball?
You remember I told you Reform will do brilliant in Scotland a few months ago?
Everyone was saying that. Yeah. Have you got any more witchcraft thing? More accurate things?
I've got loads of accurate things.
Come on, then. Let's hear them.
I'd like to talk to first. The lady that rang up from Spain was saying about Keir Starmer's wife not being Jewish. I beg to differ on that because biology says that it comes down the mother's line, the Jewish energy.
Yeah, but it was her father that was Jewish.
Yes, but let me explain. When a woman gives birth, she gives one drop of blood to the baby before the baby's born. You didn't know that, did you? So, and remember...
She's not halachic.
Remember that every woman has sons and daughters, and that blood is in each child. So it is down the bloodline, and it is down the Jewish line.
We'll argue with the rabbis.
Through the grandmother, the mother, the great-grandmother, it still passes on to each child. And that's biology. That's real biology.
It's biology I didn't understand.
My grandmother wasn't Jewish, though.
It doesn't matter. The thing is, the father is Jewish.
Yes.
His mother has donated blood to him before he was born.
Yeah, that's right.
Blood, and therefore that mother's blood carries on to his daughter, which is Keir Starmer's wife. So she's Jewish. She's got Jewish blood.
But my point is, we are interested in the political side of this, not the religious or the ethnic side of it.
But also, can I just say something? For being Keir Starmer's wife, she's really took a back seat.
Yeah, because she doesn't live with him.
About her.
She's took a different house.
She doesn't
Never
live
mind
with
the
him.
back seat.
She doesn't live with him.
Yeah.
She hates him.
She don't live with him?
No, she can't stand him.
Well, she's moved out at the moment.
It's a shame. The other thing is, I voted today.
Yeah, go on.
Have a guess who I voted for?
I think you actually did, in the end, vote Reform.
Reform, definitely.
And whereabouts did you vote? You're Tameside as well, aren't you?
No. I'm Lancashire. Bolton.
Oh, in Bolton? Sorry, I didn't know.
Yeah. And the reason I voted Reform is because one thing they straight away do when they get a council is do an audit and stop where the money's being spent on rubbish things. Are you there?
Yeah.
But, I mean, didn't you get any sort of premonition? That's a bit practical for you. Didn't you get any premonitions about it?
I still feel Starmer's leaving.
Well, yeah, but that's not much. Anyone could say that. You know what I mean? It's not very much.
But I also see Farage leaving Reform.
Oh, that's controversial. Anyway, thank you so much, Yasmin, and thank you so much for everyone who's got